Hi, how are you? I'm Diana Hinchcliffe. I'm the president of RPEA. Thank, yeah, no, nah. Thank you all for coming this morning. We really appreciate it. So, let me start with a few thank yous and some introductions. First of all, welcome to all of you who are here, and there are people who are live streaming this. We're live streaming this on our Facebook page, and we're also live streaming this on our website. So welcome to all of you who are here by live stream. And as we usually do, after the meeting, the recording of the meeting will be, a video of the meeting will be put up on our website, so anybody who couldn't be here, if you want to see parts of it again, you'll be able to watch it again. So we'll do that for you as well. So first thing I want to do is thank our sponsors for the meeting. And if our representatives of the sponsors are here, please just wave your hand as I call you out. So our main sponsor is Association Member Benefits Advisors. There they are. I'm going to talk a little bit about them, and then you'll hear from them a little bit later. The New York State and Local Retirement System. Anybody in the room from there? That's our pension system, everybody. Let's thank them and kiss them when we see them. The State Controller's Office, particularly the Office of Unclaimed Funds. Yeah. And let me say a little bit about that, because a couple of people have already said, they've gone online to the Controller's Office and the unclaimed funds part, and they have found money for either themselves or members of their family that could have been, insurance payments or this or that. And when nobody claims them, they sit in the Controller's Office of Unclaimed Funds. So you can go on the Controller's Office website. You can find that, you can put your name in, and if you've got any money coming to you, you can claim it. I really urge you to do that. The New York State Deferred Compensation Plan. Anybody in here? I guess everybody must still, yes? And we have representative organizations from NYSHIP, CVS Caremark, United Healthcare, Anthem, and Carillon. So a good hand for them. Also, Emblem Health and Worksite Benefits. President of Worksite Benefits is Candy Marrero. You all know Candy, and she's going to give a presentation a little bit later, too. So that's our sponsors. Thank you so much for making our meeting possible. Now, let me introduce our board members. And if you're here, so I know some of them are on streaming, but if you're here, please stand up. So John Crotty, who's the chair of the New York City chapter, he's streaming, I know that. Roanne DeStito, who's our board member. Alan Dorn. And you're going to hear from Alan a little bit later, too. Tim Elliott. Tim is a board member, also a chair of our Western New York chapter. He's streaming. Tina Farringer, I know she's streaming. Jody Fox is here. Stand up, Jody. Jean Majors, she's streaming. Robert Reynolds is. Jim Rulison is here. I know I saw you. There he is in the back. Darylyn Scheich Osiello, who I think is streaming too. Marcia Schumann, who's streaming. Mary Fry. Has Mary arrived yet? No, okay, she's on her way. Ed Brown, is Ed? So Ed is also our treasurer. He's the money guy, really important guy. Bill Barrett, I know Bill's here. Bill, there he is. And Pat Walsh. And there's Pat, okay. Now, we also have some chapter chairs with us. Again, Jim Rulison, who's the chair of the Capital District chapter, Charlene Lajewski, who's co-chair of Mohawk Valley. Next to her, Jackie Nelson, who's the other co-chair of Mohawk Valley. Jody Fox, who's the co-chair of Rockland Orange. Joanne Kulak, I know you're here because there she is. She's chair of Long Island chapter. Jan Tacaranti, who's the chair of Florida East Coast chapter. I saw Jan this morning. There she is. She's in the back. And Carla and Tom Houston, they are co-chairs of Westchester Putnam. There they are, right there. So thank you to all our chapter chairs. They're the ones that help keep our organization going. And we're going to talk a little bit about the chapters in a minute also. Okay, so what we have is the election of officers and board members. And, hold on. Here we go. Okay. So you all received a ballot in the mail, and if you turned it in, that's great. We counted the votes. If you did not turn it in, you'll have the opportunity to vote this morning. So here are the candidates for our board, and some of these folks are renewing these terms, and some of them will be new. Alan Dorn, who is a former executive director, now the interim executive director. So Alan stood up before. Tim Elliott, who chairs the Western New York chapter, he's Zooming. Jody Fox, who's co-chairing the Rockland Orange chapter. Jim Rulison, the chair of the Capital District chapter. Darylyn Scheich Osiello, who is on the Long Island chapter steering committee. Christine Williams, who's on the Capital District chapter steering committee. Christine, are you here? Where are you? Oh, there you are. Hi, Christine. Okay. And Charlene Lajewski, the co-chair of the Mohawk Valley chapter. So, even if you voted previously and sent your ballot in, all those in favor of electing these members to our board, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, congratulations to our new board members. So now I want to take a couple of minutes and talk about a new partnership that we have this year, and you're going to hear a little bit more about this during the main part of the meeting. Association Member Benefits Advisors is an organization that works with organizations like ours, membership organizations, to help increase membership. They do membership development. We made a contract with them to help us increase our membership. As you've heard me talk about before, and I know if you go to chapter meetings, you've heard our chapter chairs talk about it, our membership has been declining. We're not different from other organizations. We have a terrific retention rate. We have an 85% retention rate, which is really excellent. But we still could do more in terms of increasing our membership. So Candy Marrero, who we'll talk to you in a minute, she's our benefits advisor, and she connected us with, we call them AMBA, Association Member Benefits Advisors. They are going to help us do membership development. They're going to recruit new members for us. As you can see, they're helping to sponsor our meeting, so they're getting involved already. And so they are also going to, which I don't want to steal their thunder because they're going to talk about this, but they're going to be offering some really excellent benefits programs, additional benefits programs that you as current members and also new members will be able to take advantage of. So we saw this as a win-win situation, and it will be good for us, it will be good for them. So we're going to partner with them and for the benefit of all of our members, current and to come. So they're going to talk a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes. So the next item on our agenda is a status report on the chapters. Now, the positive news is we have 10 chapters. We have 9 in New York State, 1 in Florida. We used to have 20 or 21. As membership has declined, some chapters have also dissolved. As people get older, as they don't want to be on the steering committee anymore, if they don't want to be in leadership anymore, some chapters have been having trouble getting members to serve on their steering committee. It is so important that you support the chapters, because the chapters are the local level. They are the liaison to the membership between us and the headquarters office and what's going on in your community at the local level. So I'm going to ask Charlene Lajewski to come up. She's the co-chair of the Mohawk Valley chapter. Mohawk Valley has been very, very aggressive in getting new members. So I asked her to come and talk to you about what you can do as individual members to help attract new members. You can use that mic, Charlene. Yeah. Oh, you can use that mic on that. Yeah.
Hey. Good morning. I don't know that we have all the answers, but I know that we work a lot on trying to find new members, and we do it through a lot of different things. And we've been averaging 1 to 2 members a month. The last year we got 25 new members over the past year. So I think it could be better, but not bad. So what are some of the things that we do? One of the big things that I think helps to find some of our members, we like to socialize. So we have trips. Some are usually 1 or 2 major trips, a few 3 to 4 day bus trips, and we always have 1 or 2 one-day trips. An example, we always go, it used to be called the Merry-Go-Round Playhouse outside of Ithaca, and it's a bus trip. We go to lunch and we go see a play. We are now exploring Glimmerglass Opera because we had the director come in and speak to us at one of our meetings, and people were very excited about going to see the Glimmerglass Opera. So we try to do things like that. I have what I call an elevator speech. And an elevator speech is just 1 or 2 very small things that when I'm talking to people that aren't members, but I know that they were public employees or their husband was public employees, I make the comment, did you realize by state constitution, your union can only negotiate for their active members? Yes, I belong to PEF. I belong to PEF retirees, and I understand that they help us, but they can't do what RPA can do. And I explain, RPA is one of the few organizations that advocate for things that are important to us, to keep our pension, to keep our health benefits, to advocate even for Social Security and Medicare. So I use some kind of a small elevator speech. Most of your communities probably have a community newspaper. I'm not necessarily talking a big newspaper. In the New Hartford area, we have one that's called the Town Crier. And it doesn't cost me anything because it gets mailed out to everybody in the New Hartford area. So when we have a meeting coming up, one of the 4 during the year, or we have a trip coming up, I send it to the Penny Saver, or to the Town Crier, and it gets published. So we'll get 3 or 4 people who may not have known about us that is interested in either the one-day trip or the bus trip we're going to take, or the legislative breakfast that we always have in September, and they'll come to see what we're coming about. And we have picked up members from that. I happen, the same flyer I put up on my church bulletin board as I walk into the church. So that's a place you can put it. Or if there's a bulletin board that I happen to be a Price Chopper or Walgreens, if there's a public bulletin board, I tend to put those flyers up there if I'm in that area. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost me a piece of paper. We do have a Facebook page, which we publish, we just got that started. We learned, and I'm sure she'll talk more about the group pages, which we're going to try to explore. So that's always something. In my letters that I send out to people, because I have basically 4 letters, because I used to do membership and I still help with membership. I had a new member letter, welcome. I'm glad that you joined. And in that, I put the newest flyer for any of the meetings coming up and any of the trips that we've got. So they know, even before they come to a meeting, what our local chapter is doing. I have an expiration letter, because I'll go through quarterly for the people who have not. And in those letters, I'll say, your membership expired on such and such a date. Put an application for them. Put a flyer for whatever meetings we've got and whatever trips we've got coming up. And most importantly is the perspectives. Sometimes we'll pick an employer and send out perspective letters. We got, we heard that you retired. We've got this wonderful organization. And again, application, trips, flyers for our meeting. So that helps a lot. And then I always usually carry a couple applications with me so that when I go to my red hats and we're talking about something, I can tell people that are new to me. When I go to my Daughters of the Nile, when I go to Eastern Star, or any other meeting that I belong to, I always have a few applications with me. So if the conversation is able to come up, I can give them something. If I don't have it, I take their name and their address, and then I go home and I send it to them. But those are common things that we do, and it doesn't seem like it a lot, but as people do it, we're averaging 1 or 2 members a month. So I think it's worth trying.
Absolutely. Thank you, Charlene. Okay, so how does all of this relate to all of you individually? Everything that Charlene just described, those activities are created and organized by the steering committee of the chapter. Now, there are officers in the steering committee, secretary, treasurer, and so forth, like with any organization. But it's the steering committee that's made up of members of that chapter who plan these events. So if you have any kinds of special talents, so Charlene mentioned the trips that they organize. If you're a really good organizer, if you've organized trips even for yourself or your family, get involved in your chapter and offer to organize trips that the members might want to go on. If you like to write, if you've written press releases or articles for your local newspaper, or even if you wrote essays in high school, offer your services to the chapter to do media outreach on behalf of your chapter for the activities that are going on. And Charlene's last suggestion, which is something I always do, I always have copies of our application brochure in my purse, in my car, and I always have them with me. So if I meet somebody who is retired or their spouse or their partner is retired, I give them an application, and I do the same thing she does. I take their information and I follow up with them. There are application brochures on the registration table when you came in. Take some with you when you go, and just keep them with you, and keep in mind that you might meet somebody who could be a member. One of our board members got a message from someone who was not a member because she has a personal Facebook page, and on her Facebook page she notes that she is involved with RPEA. So someone wrote her through her Facebook page and said, please give me some more information, and she did, and he joined. So there's another way of doing outreach that you can do personally, is through your Facebook page if you have that, or social media, whatever social media you happen to be on. So those are just a few suggestions about how you can get involved to help your chapter and also to help RPEA in general. Yes, ma'am, please. Oh, I thought you wanted to say something. Okay, so is there any other business to come before the group, or does anyone have any questions about anything that we have discussed so far? And Sharice has a microphone, so she'll walk around and with the microphone if you have a question. No, everybody's like not quite awake yet? Okay.
And you did that.
Okay, all right. So we'll conclude the business meeting, and we'll continue on then to our regular annual meeting. Okay. So let's see, what time is it? 9:52. Okay. Is Mary Fry here? Has she arrived yet? Oh, there you are, Mary. And has our representative from Civil Service arrived yet? There you are. Okay. So, Mary, our first item on our annual meeting agenda is a favorite of all of you. It's the representative from NYSHIP, who is here to tell you about updates from NYSHIP, changes, and to answer your questions about NYSHIP. So Mary Fry is our Executive Vice President. She retired from the Employee Benefits Division of the Department of Civil Service. So she's going to introduce our NYSHIP representative, whose name is Mary Warden. Go ahead, Mary.
Good morning, everybody. And we all know one thing that we value, probably only second to our pensions, is our health benefits. And it's always a concern of people. Sometimes it can be confusing. And so we're very fortunate to have someone here today from the Department of Civil Service Employee Benefits Division, which, as Diana said, that's where I retired from. I spent about 25 years there. So I know not all of our members are in the New York State Health Insurance Program, but the vast majority are, because you're either a New York State retiree or a retiree from one of the local governments that participates in NYSHIP. They can have the Empire Plan or the Excelsior Plan. Most of those local governments are like down in the Hudson Valley or on Long Island. So, and NYSHIP is not an easy program to understand all the time. So we thought this is always a popular topic. So we have someone here. So if you're not in NYSHIP, you can just sit back and, you'll probably learn a few things anyway. So today we have Mary Warden here with us from the Employee Benefits Division. And if you are a New York State retiree, the Employee Benefits Division is your benefits administrator. So Mary has been with the Employee Benefits Division for 12 years, and she is a human resource benefits specialist, and she often speaks to retirees, and she also is a presenter at the pre-retirement seminars that the Comptroller's Office holds. So she's going to provide us with some updates today, some important information, and then it's good we're ahead of schedule because hopefully we'll have plenty of time for questions when she's finished. So, Mary?
Thank you. Good morning. Can I have a show of hands of how many people in the room are a member of NYSHIP, the New York State Health Insurance Program? Okay, majority of you. And out of the NYSHIP members? How many people are Empire Plan enrollees? Okay, good majority. And the reason why I ask is because the Empire Plan, it's exclusively formulated for New York State employees and retirees. It is our largest plan, so it's the most popular plan. NYSHIP serves over 1.5 million members. So, yeah. See if I can figure this out. Okay, so we're going to be talking about a few topics here. Changes to NYSHIP over the next year. About the option transfer periods, that's not new. That's something that's been ongoing. Medicare and NYSHIP, which is my specialty. I work in member services and love the challenges with Medicare and NYSHIP. Dependent survivor coverage, and then we'll have questions. And I will be around after my presentation and throughout the rest of the morning if you have any questions on anything. Changes. So effective October 1st, Emblem Dental was taken over by Anthem Blue Cross. This is for people that have had Emblem Cobra. If you have a conversion plan and you have a direct plan with Emblem and you're being billed directly, it will not change over. It did not change over to Anthem. That's right. It's already past the first. So Emblem is no longer offered for the dental benefits. Everyone that had Emblem and switched over should have received a welcome packet, so to speak, a card, new card, and all of that. So that's already in effect. We already talked about that. So here are some of the changes in the between 2024 and 2025. So this kind of gives you a general idea, and this will be coming out as well in changes that you'll be receiving in the January publications. So this is just to let you know there are changes in store there for out-of-pocket expenses. All right. Devon is going to come up and talk to us about the changes with your prescription coverage in 2025.
Thank you, Mary. Good morning. My name is Devonna. I am from CVS Caremark. I work directly with the NYSHIP account. I am the account manager for NYSHIP. So for the 2024, your co-pays were applied towards your troop, your out-of-pocket max for the year. And once you met that $8,000 or whatever your out-of-pocket max was, you then had your percentage to pay. So going forward for 2025, you will still have your regular co-pays. However, you will have the drug cost will be 25% of that will go towards your out-of-pocket max or your troop or your MOOP. So for instance, say that the drug cost is $400, 25% of that would be $100, and that $100 would go towards your $2,000. This will allow you to meet that max at a faster rate. Therefore, you would, once you met it, you would not have to pay that copay. You would pay your regular copays. Now, the copays will not be applied to those this year, and this only applies to your Medicare Part D drugs. So this is not Part B. This is only your prescription drug coverage that is affected by this change. So in the example that it gives, it says that the drug cost is $400, and then for 24 and 25, the defined standard copay is $100. The member pays $40, so you would still pay that same $40. And then, however, last year $40 went towards it, and this year coming up in 25, $100 will be applied towards that. So those are some of the changes that will be going on in 2025. I will be around after the session is over, so if you have any specific questions as far as any drugs that you're concerned with, I can answer those for you after the session is over. Thank you.
Okay, so moving right along. There is a new Donate Life registry that is on the Department of Civil Service forms. If you want to change your plan or make any changes to your plan, there will be an option that you can choose this if you like. It says if you would like to be added to the registry and consent to organ, eye, and tissue donation during enrollments, you can upon your passing. This is something new. Okay. And as I said, it's going to be on the health insurance transaction form to allow for changes. So you can either select yes or you can skip the question. So no option transfer period for retirees. This is not something new. As a retiree, you have the right and the option to change your plan at any time. You do not have to wait for open enrollment like you do when you're actively working. You can only change your plan once in a 12-month period. And all we need from you, is a written request that you want to change your plan from, say, MVP to the Empire plan with an effective date. And that effective date is always the first of the month. We would have to receive that signed and dated request by the end of the month prior to when you wish to change. Already talked about that. Same information. To change data. So you're not subject to the open enrollment period with Medicare, folks. It started in October and goes through the end of the year. That is the most confusing period. People think that they have to change their plan and choose a plan every year because you get inundated with mail, advertising, phone calls, people at Walmart, grocery stores. As a NYSHIP member and a retiree, you are not subject to that open enrollment. We will not change your plan unless you send us a request to do so. We have people every day calling up and saying, oh, well, I was told I needed a new drug plan. I had to sign up. So they sign up, and then they lose all of their NYSHIP coverage. And that's not good. But the good thing is that we can rectify almost every issue that comes up. It's just that it's a mess and a hassle because you have to cancel that other plan you were enrolled in and then send us a request to reinstate. We can take care of it, but it's still a mess. So Medicare and NYSHIP. Can I have a show of hands of how many people are Medicare eligible? Okay, so you're pretty much familiar with Medicare and NYSHIP. It can be very confusing. So Medicare is a federal health insurance program administered by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. You can become eligible for Medicare due to age, 65, or due to a disability, ALS, end-stage renal disease. When Medicare becomes primary, Medicare Parts A, which is hospital, B, which is medical outpatient, are your primary coverage with the Empire Plan. The Empire Plan becomes secondary. Now, with HMOs, the HMO and Medicare are linked together. They're married, so to speak, and they work in conjunction with each other. So we at the Department of Civil Service Employee Benefits Division advise that once you or any of your dependents become eligible for Medicare, that you send us a copy of their Medicare card, along with a request signed and dated by the enrollee. That way, that can ensure that we have your information on file and apply the Medicare indicators properly. It just eases the situation. Don't assume we're going to receive it. A lot of times we do receive it, especially if you are already collecting Social Security when you become Medicare eligible. Or if you become eligible due to a disability, a lot of times we receive that information and we'll automatically update the file. But we always send a confirmation letter letting you know that we received that information. But it's imperative for you to keep us informed of the Medicare eligibility for anyone on your plan. So the Department of Civil Service Employee Benefits Division, we require that you have Medicare Part A and B in place when you're eligible. Therefore, we reimburse for that standard Part B premium. So Medicare doesn't end up costing anything in the long run. And those of you that are Medicare eligible are already familiar with that. You either receive the reimbursement monthly in your New York State pension check or on a quarterly basis. So we already talked about that. Medicare Advantage plans, again, are HMOs that are linked together with Medicare to form the Medicare Advantage plan. It's also referred to as Part C. So, how do you enroll in Medicare? You can enroll in Medicare online. You can visit your local Social Security office, or you can call Social Security at the number on the screen here. We advise that you do so 3 months in advance of your 65th birthday month, just to avoid any late enrollments or any problems with that. We will always adjust the file to be the effective date, even if you don't receive your Medicare card until after that effective date. So we will take care of it, but it eases the process if you start early. So that's why we advise 3 months in advance. We do send out happy birthday letters, so to speak, that have our publication, Medicare and NISHIP, and that explains the whole process. It's a wealth of information there. This is a big subject. Dependent survivor coverage. Beginning in January, this is going to be automatic. Any dependents on your plan will automatically be enrolled in dependent survivor coverage. They do not have to elect it. If they do not want it, they just let us know they don't want it, and we'll terminate it. But this is something new for 2025, the automatic enrollment. And this will really streamline and help folks out when they're going through that difficult time. So we would advise that any dependents on the plan notify us of the member's passing. We would appreciate a copy of the death certificate. we have 3 months of extended benefits that are offered at no cost. So for the first 3 months, any of your dependents have that coverage for free. During that 3-month period, we advise that you inform us. A lot of times we are informed by the retirement system. The Office of State Comptroller sends over feeds on passings of members. That's why they're going to start doing the automatic enrollment in 2025, which is nice. Like I said, it'll help streamline everything. So you may be enrolled in dependent survivor coverage if your spouse does not remarry or repartner, your domestic partner who is not remarried or acquired a new domestic partner, which in a 3-month time period, I don't know. Okay. And a child meets the eligibility criteria to be enrolled as a dependent child. If you had a disabled dependent, that disabled dependent can be certified to stay on the plan as a dependent survivor for life. So that is an option. You don't have to worry about any disabled dependents that you may have. So natural children, stepchildren, domestic partners' children, legally adopted children, or the other child, which could be disabled dependent, are eligible for dependent survivor coverage. We've already talked about that. Takes effect January 1st. So a lot of people think that you have to have sick leave credit in order to be eligible for dependent survivor coverage. That's not true. Sick leave is an added benefit that pays for your coverage. You don't have to have sick leave to be eligible for coverage or to be eligible for dependent survivor coverage. The two different kinds of sick leave, there's the single annuitant, which is 100% of your sick leave credit. That dies with you. The dual annuitant, on the other hand, is your sick leave credit reduced by 30%. So it's 70% of the sick leave credit. The purpose of the dual annuitant is that that can be carried over and passed on to your dependents when you pass for life. But remember, you're reducing it by 30%, and you cannot change. It's a one-time option. You can't change it, and you have to sign the form for that before your last day on the payroll, which most of you are already retired, so that's already done. But you do not have to have sick leave credit. I guess that's my main point. You do not have to have sick leave credit for your dependents to be eligible for dependent survivor coverage. And that's it. Any questions? These are just brief updates here. We have a question over here.
Yeah, how would you know, Zahn, that did you opt, to the certain percentage of your past 2 years time?
Good question.
Automatically.
The question is, how would I know if I have single annuitant, 100% of my sick leave credit, or dual annuitant where you had it reduced? You can call the Employee Benefits Division, and we'd be more than happy to look it up. You probably have record of it when you retired and all your paperwork. Yeah.
Mary, can you please give Barbara the microphone so we can hear her question?
I'm just curious as to whether all this information has already been published. The new things that you're talking about that will go into effect in January, Have the bulletins been issued yet? Have the brochures been issued yet? And if not, when will they be?
Good question. So, all of this, we do have a lot of this on our website. And then we also have a publication that comes out in January that's going to be talking about all of these changes. Very good question, though.
What I understood from what you just said is that this information applicable to things that are going to happen in January is not going to be available in writing before January, except it's on the website.
I believe it is.
Very good question. We had another question over here.
Can you re-explain what's going on with Emblem Health and Anthem? The reason I'm asking is I just paid my quarterly for Emblem, and I've seen nothing come through, and I didn't understand exactly what you said. Could you readdress that issue?
I certainly can. So, it's a little confusing, but like I said, if you had Cobra Emblem, if you had a direct pay conversion plan with Emblem, it's not going over. You have a contract with Emblem. But if you had Cobra with Emblem, which is the 3 years of extended benefits that you had when you were actively working, that will switch over. And all of the active employees right now that have Emblem, it's going to switch over to Anthem. So is that a little clear? It is confusing.
Thank you.
I just want to address the Anthem issue from the RPA perspective, because if anybody here has Emblem Dental through RPEA, not through your state contractor, your Cobra, but through RPEA, that is not changing. So I don't know if the person who is asking paid their quarterly because they're through RPEA, that's not going to change. But anybody who is, as Mary said, on Cobra through your state, PEF or CSEA or wherever you get your coverage from, that's what's changing. But I just didn't want to, I wanted to just clarify for anybody who has Emblem Dental through the RPEA, this is not changing. We're still having that. So you're all set. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that clarification, because it is confusing. Questions in the back, Mary?
Again.
Everyone else may understand this, but it still confuses me. I saw on one of the slides, NYSHIP will not pay for any expenses that should have been paid for by Medicare. Now, if there is a conflict, who arbitrates that, and how is that done? If Medicare refuses to pay for something, NYSHIP will not automatically. If NYSHIP determines that Medicare should have paid for that, then NYSHIP will not cover it. And so who arbitrates that?
Very good question. So, Medicare typically covers 80% of usual and customary services. If Medicare does not cover it and you have the Empire plan, the Empire plan will carve out what Medicare would have paid, and they'll pay their percent. And then you are responsible for the rest.
Will you say it costs with your example?
Do I have an example? You get asked that a lot. Well, Medicare, like I said, typically covers 80% of usual and customary services. So I would ask you, is there a situation that you're aware of?
I have other issues with that NYSHIP Medicare combination that I don't want to raise at this point. But my question is, and I don't have a specific example at this point, but if there is something that Medicare, that NISHIP believes that Medicare should have covered, and Medicare refuses to cover it, who arbitrates on behalf of the member, or who intervenes on behalf of the member?
We,
You're confused. It's okay.
That it's very confusing. That is a very good question, and I don't know if I can answer that fully, but Medicare typically covers 80%.
surgery in Mexico, would that be covered?
Surgery in Mexico.
The question is, surgery in Mexico, would that be covered? Yeah, I, these are questions that should be directed probably more to Medicare.
Off the growth, we're SPF.
We do have an on-the-road publication that has phone numbers for you to call to find out on things in anticipated areas where you're going to be traveling. That on-the-road publication, which actually is out at the United Healthcare Empire Plan table, is a wealth of knowledge. And thank you for bringing that up. Yes, when you travel, that is very good to use.
So I have a suggestion for the gentleman who asked about who arbitrates any disagreement between Medicare and
Thank you.
and NISHIP, and because I've had that situation, and my suggestion is call NISHIP, explain the situation, they will look into it, and they will let you know what needs to be done or what can be done. I have found the NISHIP representatives to be very helpful when I've called them.
Well, thank you very much. We do get calls on that occasionally, and we do step it up, and we work with the HMO or the Empire Plan. But I don't think there's any straightforward answer, I guess, is what I'm getting at. But typically we find that Medicare and NISHIP work very well together with the HMOs where they're linked together, or with the Empire Plan as secondary. But that's a very good question. It doesn't happen all that often, but it's those times that it doesn't happen that you need answers to.
Questions in the front here? And over there. Okay, we'll get you. I have a question regarding prescription. When you become eligible for Medicare, if your doctor prescribes a medication and then you call Caremark to get it filled, and they say, we're not filling it because Medicare's not paying for it. How do you get that resolved? Because you've been on this medicine for years.
That's a very good question. And we do run into that frequently, that before you become Medicare eligible and go on to the silver script. So I'm going to defer to Devana on this to be a little more specific. What we find is that you have to go through pre-authorization and be denied.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're denied a couple times before it gets picked up. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, you get
Get it authorized. It will have to be approved.
so let's say you understand that Medicare not that
Then you will need to go to your doctor and check your formulary to see what other medicine is compatible that he can go and he could take.
The suggestion was to if that happens, to go back to your doctor, because you may need to have a different type of medication that will also work.
That is true, but also the doctor may have to contact CVS Caremark SilverScript specifically to find out what pre-authorization process they need to go through, because it should be covered.
And something else on that too, for medication that I take, I just received a letter that said it's been a year since, or whatever, 2 years, whatever, since your doctor approved this medication. Your doctor has to give us another authorization by X date. So you need to pay attention to that, because if you don't get that authorization, then you can't get your prescription filled. So, so make sure you pay attention to that too.
Hi. So my question is, I've been on an HMO, Medicare Advantage plan, and you specifically called out that it was a Part C. So if I decide to switch to Empire Plan, is there anything that I have to do because it becomes Part A and B, which I know is actually Part C, but like how did one act?
Another very good question. So what happens is you send in a request, signed and dated to the Employee Benefits Division with an effective date that you want to change to the Empire Plan. So let's say December 1st, you want to change to the Empire Plan. We will terminate the other coverage with your Medicare Advantage plan and enroll you in the Empire Plan, and that will get rid of the Part C, which is the Medicare Advantage plan. That will be dissolved. As soon as you are enrolled, yes. So there's nothing more you need to do than to send us a request that you want to change your plan.
There's questions over. There are questions over here.
Is D added automatically?
The Part D prescription drug plan is in any of the NISHIP plans. You do not need to sign up for a prescription drug plan.
I think it's over at that last table over there.
Okay, right over here.
Yep. My question is very simple. When will the choices pamphlet be ready and published? It was very late last year.
Good question. They're working on it right now as we speak. So they're supposed to be coming out late November, the health insurance choices, where you can make changes and you can see all of the plans that are offered in your area. They usually come out the end of November, beginning of December. But I would defer you to the civil service website at www.cs.civilservice.ny.gov. I'm not. Just so that you can see. Usually all of the publications and updates are on our website prior to being sent out. So I would encourage you to.
States have already said I received from the federal government the Medicare 2025 huge booklet, and it has all of the list of your Medicare plan by region. So it's hard to find the state one.
Oh, right. They're on the website. And yeah, health insurance choices, and hopefully that'll be coming out sooner than later. But check the website because that is updated prior to receiving the mailings.
Now my place was Empire and Medicare. Oh, geez. But I was under the impression the Empire plan is the same for retirees as it is for the active employees, what they cover. That's the same? So if Medicare doesn't cover something, but the active policy for the active employees does cover that procedure, that there is still a reimbursement because we have the same plan as active employees, even though Medicare doesn't cover it. Because you know Medicare doesn't cover a lot of things, right? You don't have an answer to that.
Well, no, I 80% of usual and customary services. So if this is something that's outside of that realm and Medicare is not going to cover it,
But the active policy does.
if you have the Empire plan,
Right.
the Empire plan is not going to pick up 100%.
No, I know that. But you mentioned there's a carve-out. So what do you mean by the carve-out if Medicare doesn't cover it?
I don't know that I mentioned a carve. I said no. What I said was that the Empire plan will carve out what Medicare should have paid, and they will pay their portion, which is 20%, and you're still responsible. Yeah, no, and you are still responsible for the co-payment. Sharon, I'm seeing you in the background. Do you have something you want to add to this?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. You still get some.
No, yes, of course you are. Yes. And right off, I can't think of anything unless you're going for plastic surgery or something that's not considered usual and customary services. Most of the things that we have done our usual and customary services. So, right. Well, excellent questions, though. Very good questions.
I have something that is not usual and customary. And that is, after I had hip surgery, it left me an inch short on one side, on the other side. So you need orthotics. And it's $100 every time you have one shoe repaired. Doesn't cover it. How do you get it to be covered?
Under Medicare, it does not cover it?
Either state or that.
So what state plan are you speaking?
Well, I was Empire, but now I'm Capital District.
Okay. That would be more of a specific question for Capital District. We administer the health benefits. We don't see claims. We don't make decisions on claims, denials, or approvals, or anything like that. We will advocate for our members. Absolutely. But we don't make those decisions. In this case, it would most likely be best to go directly to the source. And I would fight it. I'd keep bringing it up. I wouldn't let it go. To me, that would be usual and customary.
Yeah.
You didn't operate on your hip yourself. So,
With that, trust that their doctors let them told. One ship.
I would definitely go to the source. Yeah.
Sharon, did you want to come up and make a couple of remarks, did you say?
Why with that thing?
Hold on, take the microphone so we can all hear you.
Sharon has a lot more to do with some of these specific questions that you're asking than I do.
Hi, I'm Sharon Beauregard. I'm the Member Services Rep at RPEA. I worked in EBD for many years. I worked with Mary. So I know the one gentleman asked about the sick leave credit and how does he know how much he has. The Choices Guide that is going to be coming out in about 2 months, in the back of the book, there is a single piece of paper, and on that piece of paper for any of us is your sick leave credit and how much it is and whether you chose single or dual. And then another gentleman had a question about services out of the country. Medicare does not pay out-of-country services. So then your Empire plan on the road, there's numbers there because Empire plan is going to pick up because Medicare does not pay for out-of-country services. I see Chris. She's like, yep. But if I can answer any questions.
There's a question in the back, at the back table over there.
Yep.
And while Mary's going over, Sharon Beauregard is our in-house healthcare guru. If she's one of our staff, and if you have any question about your healthcare benefits, please ask Sharon. She is expert in this.
I just wondered if you have any preventative measures under the Empire plan, like silver sneakers. Will that ever come in for the retired people?
Very good question. We get asked that question on a daily basis. Right now, the Empire plan does not have silver sneakers or preventative like gym memberships. The Empire plan is exclusively formulated for New York State employees and retirees. It's the only plan that you can have through NYSHIP that you can use outside of your geographical area. So that's the biggest selling point for the Empire plan. So at this time, there is nothing in the works for that.
Medicare pays for when we're over 65, right? So Empire doesn't have to pay that much for the retirees because, I mean, if you are working, the Empire plan will pay. But when you're 65, then Medicare pays part of it, but our rates are the same as if we were working. So what is the benefit other than traveling?
Okay, very good question. Very good question.
That's why I thought that some kind of preventative, I mean, most people should keep active.
I don't disagree with that. You're absolutely correct. Now, NISHIP requires, like I said earlier, NISHIP requires that you have Medicare when you're Medicare eligible. We have it in place. And you pay the Part B premium. You get reimbursed for that standard Part B premium. So Medicare doesn't end up costing anything in the long run. So you're not paying for Medicare. So we advise folks, NISHIP members get reimbursed. Are you a NISHIP member? Okay. You get reimbursed for that standard Part B premium for yourself and any members on your plan. It's either added to offset the cost of the family premium, or if it's individual coverage and you have pension deduction, it's added into your pension. So there's various ways, or it's a quarterly. So you're probably receiving it. So Medicare's not costing anything.
Right. This Medicare. This thing.
Yes. Right. Yes.
Not the
Right. So you're getting 2 Medicare credits, and that's used to offset the cost of your monthly family premium. And if you had any sick leave credit, that would be used as well. Good questions.
So I'm sorry, Sharon, go ahead.
So if you had like a very serious illness and you had to go in the hospital, and it's millions. I have a son who's had 2 double lung transplants. You're talking millions and millions of dollars. That's where your plan is going to kick in and pay that 20% after Medicare pays. So it's those big, big bills. And I have one other point. I just changed from the Empire plan to CDPHP. You have to notify civil service over a month because they all participate in the data sharing process. And you have to get out of the Medicare A and B before they can put you into like CDPHP into a Medicare Advantage plan. So it's more than 30 days that you have to let civil service know.
Good boy.
I can add something, by the way, to that lady's question about silver sneakers, because this comes up all the time. The reason why you can have a silver sneakers program with some of the HMOs like CDPHP, but you don't have it with Empire Plan is because benefits have to be negotiated. The unions negotiate healthcare benefits, and those benefits that they negotiate for their active workers, as we heard before, will also apply to retirees. Silver Sneakers only benefits retirees. There are many, many more active workers than there are retirees. And the way Silver Sneakers works is every time you use Silver Sneakers to go to a gym, there's a cost. The state pays that cost. So if you're in CDPHP, which I am, they bill CDPHP, and CDPHP pays for your gym visit. So that's the reason why Empire Plan doesn't do it. They have many more active employees than retirees, and it's going to cost them an amount of money for retirees to use it, and that has to be negotiated when the unions negotiate health care with the executive office. That's the answer to the question. Any more questions for Mary? Last chance, one down here and one over there.
Well, we start in the back and move our
and then
way
we
up.
have to move on to our next speaker because so we don't get so far behind. Let's take 2 more, and then Mary will be around so you can ask her later on.
Just real quick, I am a spouse of a retired state employee. I retired last year when I was 63. I'm on the Empire Plan, and I wouldn't choose any other plan but the Empire Plan. They are phenomenal. I got hearing aids. When I showed them the Empire Plan, the woman said, "You're good. We don't even have to check. You're good. One hearing aid will be paid 100%, which was $1,500. When I had cataract surgery just 3 months ago, when I went into the doctor's office and I showed them the Empire card, they said, "You're good. We'll set up your appointment now." I have never had an insurance plan before that worked so well. I didn't have to do a thing when I turned 65 in August of this year. Empire took care of everything. My Medicare got kicked in. I'm on the silver script. My wife gets reimbursed for my $172 a month that goes into her pension. I wouldn't take another insurance plan. I was inundated with all of these other insurance companies trying to get me to switch to them, and I threw them right in the garbage.
One satisfied customer. All right, one more question, and then we have to move on. Over there.
Over here?
Out there. Go close. The one for you. And just
A lot of my members, when I try to tell them about NYSHIP and especially the Empire Plan, I try to explain to them that Empire is the only one that has centers of excellence over any of the other ones. Can you talk a little bit about the kind of things that centers of excellence do?
Good question. The Centers of Excellence is outlined in the Choices Guide in almost all of our publications, but it gives cancer resources and services to folks that are going through, or family members are going through cancer services, and you get reimbursed for things. It's definitely an added benefit. You're absolutely correct there.
the other HMOs.
None of the other NYSHIP plans do have that specific option.
Okay. No.
Okay. I'm being told WellCare, you can get WellCare through the Centers for Excellence as well. Right. And like I said, that's all outlined either online in the Choices book and on other publications.
Okay. We need to thank Mary for an excellent presentation. Mary, you get the award for the hardest questions of the day. She is going to be around, as she said, so if you have questions that weren't answered, please feel free to go up and ask her. So now we're going to turn to something that Charlene Lajewski was talking about before, and that's member recruitment and retention, and what you can do to help get us some new members. So Charlene Wells, Charisse Wells is Vice President of Corning Place Communications, and she is our communications consultant for RPEA. She does a fabulous job. She knows everything about social media, Facebook, and how to take actions to increase membership. So, Charisse, turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me okay? Perfect. Good morning. Before I get started, I just want to address just some technicalities. We are live streaming, so hello everyone at home. Thank you for your flexibility working with us with the live stream. We do understand the audio could be higher. Please turn your volume up all the way. We are at the mercy of the Wi-Fi at the Hilton here, so but I just want to reassure everyone who is watching at home, we are also recording this with our video camera. We will make the entire presentations that you'll see today, as well as the entire meeting. It will be made available after the meeting today on the website and on RPA's YouTube. So we'll be sure to share that out with everybody. Please keep a lookout for that. And thank you again for tuning in online. So thank you, Diana. Again, my name is Charisse Wells with Corning Place Communications. I'm here with a couple of our team members today. My team member, Dan, helped us set up today. Nicole is here behind the camera. We also have Melissa in the back of the room who's been taking photos. So I just want to give them a shout out. It is a team effort. So thank you all for being here today. All right, so getting into membership recruitment, I'm going to talk a little bit about digital marketing that we have underway to help get new members to join RPEA. We're going to talk a little bit about social media, recruiting members, and then some other resources and tools that are available for everyone to utilize to help us build membership. Because really, at the end of the day, it is power in numbers. And RPEA's greatest value is the advocacy that takes place in Albany and in those district offices on your behalf to protect your earned benefits. And the more that we can get our membership to grow and our members to become active in joining us in this effort, the more successful we will be. So let's jump into it. First, when we're talking about our marketing efforts, these are advertisements that you might see on Facebook, through Google. When you are on Facebook, if you see one of RPA's ads, it's going to say sponsored at the top. That's how you'll know the difference. Do's and don'ts. We would love for you to comment on the ads, share the ads with your network on social media, like the posts. That's the domino effect that we want to see, because when you're sharing and commenting and liking on our posts, your network is going to see what we're sharing on RPA's page, and that's going to get us in front of more potential members so we can continue growing our membership. What we want you to avoid is actually clicking on those ads, because we are a pay per click through digital ads. That's how they work. So if you like the posts, you share them, you comment, great. Just avoid clicking through the website, because you're already members. So you already know what the value is, and you already know you've been to the website. So feel free to share and comment. I just wanted to share an example here on the screen too. Joanne is the Long Island chapter chair. She's here in the back. We introduced her earlier. Just an example. She does a great job commenting on what we share on Facebook. We're also on LinkedIn. But here's an example from Facebook. And also you can see there too, the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. They're very active on social media as well. We've partnered with them on all the efforts going on in New York City. Most recently, the rally, where we partnered this spring, and we joined forces to try to get that bill moving. But here's just an example, right? Take a few minutes, go on RPA's Facebook, like, comment, share the posts. Quick overview of how we're doing on social media. We continue to grow our following. Facebook, we have more than 3,000 followers. LinkedIn, nearly 4,000. That number continues to increase. Twitter, which is now X. We took a break from that just because of the new leadership at the company. We're focusing our efforts on LinkedIn and Facebook, because that's really where our potential members and our current members are. So please follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. We have video testimonials running as part of our advertising efforts. Here's an example here on the screen. So this is what it might look like when you see RPA's ads. So again, like, share, comment, the more, the merrier. Also on social media, we at Courting Place are working to get what we call earned media, so stories placed in newspapers, on television, specifically around our advocacy efforts. So really that January to June timeframe during the legislative session is when we are the most active, trying to talk about RPA's priorities and help move the needle and advocating on your behalf. An example, in January of this year, we had a letter to the editor that ran in Newsday. So what did we do? We shared that on Facebook. We shared it on LinkedIn. We posted it to the website. It all comes back to this layering effect and using all of these communications vehicles to share our message to get in front of more people. And when we, as in everyone in this room and everyone at home, like the posts, we share the post, we comment on the post. If you remember the slide before, we have about 3,000 followers on Facebook right now. This one post reached over 3,000 people. Just one post. That's just as many followers as we have. That's a perfect example of this domino effect that we're trying to achieve when we're taking a few minutes a day or even a few minutes a week. Check out RPA's page, what's going on, let's like, let's comment, let's share the news of the day on RPA's page. And if everyone wants to take a moment to take your phone out, your tablet, and just walk through this, or again, we're going to share this after the meeting today, so you'll see how to make sure that you have liked and followed our page. When you go to RPA's Facebook page, you're going to see this little like button. Obviously, this example says we've already liked it because this is my Facebook login. I have logged in and I like and have followed RPA's page. So you're going to click on the like right there. Most importantly, I'm going to use a little laser here. Over in the right-hand side of the page, there's 3 little dots. We want you to click on this and make sure that you are following the page. That ensures that you'll see all of our news in your newsfeed every day. And then this is how all of you can immediately take action to help us continue to build our membership and our following. It's super easy to do. Same 3 little dots on the page. You're going to invite your friends to follow our page. And this is how easy it is. You click on that. It's going to show this pop-up, and you can either select all your friends, which I just did this weekend actually, I'm a former MC actually, previously worked for the state, so I have a pretty decent network of folks who are recently retired and are still working for the state now. So I selected all my friends, invited them to like the page, or you can go through one by one and check off the boxes near folks who are your friends, and then this will light up blue down at the bottom of the box, and you send those invites. It's as easy as that. Invite your whole network to follow RPA's Facebook page. Facebook groups were mentioned earlier. Some of our chapters are starting to establish a Facebook group. Raise your hand if you are active on Facebook and are a part of maybe your town's local group, or like updates from, I live in Rensselaer County, so I'm part of the news and updates from North Greenbush. Does anyone participate in any Facebook groups, networks? We've got a couple over here, some more in the back. Yeah. So this is a great way to get involved with your local chapter. We have 2 chapters who have Facebook groups so far, and other chapters, we actually discussed this yesterday, we're going to start creating more Facebook groups, because the benefit of the groups is it encourages discussion. So there's the ability to ask questions. You can share files. You can share documents through Facebook groups, as opposed to just a little bit easier to interact than an actual page. So hopefully we'll have some more updates on that, the individual chapters, establishing those in the coming weeks and months. And I don't want to forget about RPA's website. We were active in updating this. We revamped it about, I think it's been 5 years now. And the website is a great resource. It's super easy to use. And one of the most important pages, I would say, is under the About Us. You'll see it'll drop down, and there's a testimonials page. There are some great videos featuring some board members, some RPA members from across the state, talking about the value of membership. We include these videos in our online advertisements, trying to increase our membership. But it's easy to just share this link and text it or email it to folks who you think might be interested in joining our PEA. They can get a quick overview of the value of membership with our PEA. And I also want to highlight, too, on the website, over under the news tab, the latest news post will be right on the homepage. But if you want to see everything that's been going on recently, check out the news tab. There's a lot going on, and it's going to be shared right under there. We talked about earned media a little bit already. This is just a quick synopsis of some of the earned media placements that we were able to secure this year. Most of it, again, does take place during the legislative session, but we were able to get our executive director on the Capitol Press Room, which is one of the most listened to programs by legislators, their staff, the governor's office, and the administration and their staff. We try to get on that every single year. We had some coverage in the Syracuse Post-Standard, Politico, Cranes, the Johnson Papers, Newsday down on Long Island, Spectrum statewide. And these are just a couple of examples from this year. And again, as we get closer to session, we'll be working with the team and our partners who are the lobbying team to identify the priorities and continue to talk about those in the press. So local community relations. Here are just a couple of ideas of how you can get involved. We heard some great examples earlier from Charlene. A couple of other examples here. An obvious one, right? Getting involved in your local chapter, attending events. You can request brochures from RPA's office so that you have those on hand. You could have the applications with you on hand. I like to keep them in the car because then they're always accessible. You always have them nearby. And I would say one of the most important things is when you're getting involved in chapter events, or if you join even a virtual town hall and you can take a screenshot or a photo of the virtual town hall that you participated in, share those photos on your social media pages. Let your network know, hey, I was involved in this. This is what we heard. These were the updates. You should get involved in the next event or the next happening with our PEA. And if you're not a member, join. Photos are really, really powerful. If you don't work in communications like myself and our team, it's not the first thing you think of, but the more that we talk about it and get used to just taking our phone out, taking a couple photos and sharing what RPA is doing, the better we will be. And here's another tip that's fairly easy, and we talked about this with the chapter chairs yesterday, and I would encourage individual members too. I don't know how you sign off on your email, but it's very easy to do if you want to adjust your email signature and just include in there, I'm a member of the Retired Public Employees Association, and a link to the website. It's one more way that you can get RPA in front of your network and folks that you're interacting with on a daily basis. And I ran through that a little fast to try and get us back on schedule, but if you have any questions, I'm open to them, and I will also be here for the rest of the afternoon too, so feel free to grab me.
Thank you. Thank you. Questions for Charisse about anything having to do with media, social media?
Yes.
Yes, Charlene.
On the signature where it said click here, if I write rpea.org, it will come up in blue, and I write click here, or what?
That's totally up to you. That's personal, how you want it to look. You can just do the URL, www.rpa.org. That works. And I will say, depending on the email service that you use, you may have to add, like, hyperlink the text itself, or it might hyperlink itself. It depends if you use Outlook or Gmail or Yahoo. They're all a little bit different. But if you give it a shot and you have any questions on it, feel free to reach me, and anyone else in the room too. My email is up on the screen. If you have any issues, shoot me an email. I'd be happy to help walk you through that.
Anyone else? Yes, over here. Oh, and over there.
Daddy.
I'm sorry.
I live with those dad. Yeah. And it comes up as GoDaddy. RPEA is not first name.
Are you doing .org?
It's
.org, not
.org. Yep.
Yeah, not .com. It's .org.
Oh, we'll take a look at that right after the presentation. We'll take a look at that for you. Yeah, thank you.
There was a question over here too.
I'm in heels. Sorry, give me a moment.
Don't hurt stuff.
Do you really think it's smart to, quote unquote, to use your words, take a break from one of the largest social media platforms out there and alienate all of the followers that are available there, and risk having someone like me who has a lot of time on their hands and speaks to a lot of people, both in the online world and in the real world, go out and run down Corning Place Communications and tangentially splash that mud, because you have to tell them why you're telling them things, why RPEA is going to be splashed with the same mud. Do you think that's a smart idea?
I can answer that because it was our decision. When now X was Twitter, we had no problem. We had an active account. People participated. When Elon Musk took over Twitter and renamed it X, he also once again allowed something that had been not allowed. He allowed anyone to post anything, no matter whether it was discriminatory, no matter whether it was racist, no matter whether it was projected at one group or another. And some of what information that is now being posted on X is demeaning or insulting to our members. And that was the reason why we decided to place our account on hold, because if anybody can post anything, and we respect our members, we respect you, and we don't want to be associated with a social media organization that's going to print or allow hateful things that are going to upset our members. And that's the reason why we decided we would pose our account.
Speak.
Yes, it's
true. And it's also known as censoring. Just to be clear, those are the two words. Okay?
We're not saying that anybody can't post on X anything they want. That's Elon Musk's policy. He allows anybody to post anything. But we made the decision that what is being posted is insulting to our members, is demeaning to our members, and we decided to pause it. Any of our members, individually, personally, you can go on X if you want to. You can have your own account on X if you want to. We have no control over that, nor would we prevent you from doing so. This was an organization decision.
It's been free.
Any other?
Trust the quality of her addiction.
I'll have about a 5-hour conversation with you about free speech at some point.
Any other questions before we move on? Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Cherise. And Cherise has got us back on time. Thank you very much. And she'll be around too, so if you have questions for her or you want to make some comments or get more information from her, she'll be around to help you with that. Now, I mentioned before that we have a new partnership with Association Member Benefits Advisors, or AMBA. So now we're going to bring up Candy Marrero, who is the president of Worksite Benefits, and she is also the benefits coordinator for RPEA. She's our consultant for member benefits. Always, always, always helpful. Our members call her when they need something. Perhaps you've done that, to ask her questions about benefits, and she's always happy to answer questions. She's also gone out to our chapter meetings, and she has presented information there and answered questions. She's been so helpful. She's now affiliated with AMBA, and she's going to talk about how that's happening, and then she's going to bring up Bo Carr, who's the Vice President of Association Relations for AMBA, and hold on a second because this was a substitute, and Richard Rowland, who is Assistant Vice President for Association Relations. And they are going to talk to you about the partnership that we have with AMBA now. So, Candy, go ahead.
Thank you so much. So that was a great introduction, said a lot of what I was planning on saying. So a lot of you have already met me. I've been working with RPA for a really long time. So I've had the pleasure of meeting or talking to a lot of you over the years. But some people have not met me, and some people have not known what I can do for you and what I have done for many. So I consider myself an extension of RPEA. What I try to do always is to keep you in the forefront of my mind, to try to also increase your membership and to also, offer as many value-added benefits for the membership that exists, because you all are members already. We want to add things, to make the membership more valuable to you as well. But in that same effort, we can use those benefits, if you will, to attract new members, which is kind of what we need. And, Diana and, everybody that's talked today, a lot of it has been associated with getting new membership. So we're trying really hard. I've been trying, you all don't know because everything I do is behind the scenes, but I've tried really hard over the years to increase your membership just with my little old self by going out and saying, hey, do you know about RPEA? When I'm talking to, retirees, I do Medicare, not for NYSHIP, but, on a separate thing. And so I'm constantly talking to people every day about Medicare, and every day that I come into contact with people who are retirees of the state or the federal government, I say to them, do you know about RPEA? I also bring brochures with me wherever I go. And I am always astonished at how many people tell me they never heard of RPEA. So, there's just so many people out there that, haven't gotten the message yet. And I think we're all doing a really good job trying to get it out there. But one of the things that, we are doing right now is this partnership with AMBA that I'm really, really excited about. So I wanted to let everybody know that has been dealing with me, that you're still going to deal with me. And for those of you who haven't, I hope I have the pleasure to deal with you at some point. I do, as Diana mentioned, come out to the chapters. If you, a lot of times I find out about the chapter meeting like the week before your chapter meeting, and there's just no way for me to get there at that point. So I always like to say in these meetings that if you need a speaker, or if you have an extra, 10 minutes on your time frame, I would love to come out and talk to you and your members, educate them a little bit on the benefits. Now, that being said, I have always handled your dental and your vision benefits, and we have currently, Emblem Health, which again, I clarified before, don't get it confused with the Emblem Health that's going away, or the Emblem Dental, I should say, which is also the old GHI, for those of us who've been around long enough to know that they were GHI for, 40 years before they were Emblem. But the RPA portion of Emblem is not. Did this go off?
Yeah. No, did it go on?
Hello? Oh, okay. Sorry. Maybe I just didn't hear it. The RPA contract with Emblem is still in full effect. Everything is the same. We've increased, some benefits that aren't even available on the state contract. So, I didn't want anyone to think that that portion was going away. So it's not. The other thing that we have is MetLife. Now, I always try to tell people that MetLife was brought in for the mere purpose of the network not being good in some areas or some states for Emblem. So, for example, if you're in the Carolinas, for whatever reason, Emblem is not real good there. There's not a lot of providers. So we needed to capture providers for the people who actually are in those states. So I brought in MetLife years ago. I don't want to say that they're not as good as Emblem, but they're not as good as Emblem, It's just the way it is, The Emblem program that you have covers everything. If you're going to a participating provider, there isn't a better plan that we offer, that we can offer here at RPEA, better than Emblem. But if you can't get a provider, it doesn't matter how good the plan is, because you're not going to get a benefit. So therefore, for the people in, the Carolinas especially, we do have MetLife. And then we have a third option, which is called AVS Dental, and that's just a discount program. It can be by itself or in addition to the Emblem or the MetLife. Now, with all of that said, these are, decent programs that we have through RPEA that you only can get through your exclusive membership with RPEA. But I have spent years trying to get better benefits for you, better than, in addition to dental, maybe more dental, in addition to your vision, maybe more, another company that might have a better vision plan. It's really hard to increase your benefits, so it's normally easier to get more carriers to choose from. But in our case, we can't do that because it's a special kind of membership. You're all individuals as opposed to groups. So in the group world, we can get things a little bit easier than we can in the individual world, which is why I'm so excited about the partnership with AMBA. Because with AMBA, I consider you a very decent sized group of 20,000 or however many members we have, right? But in the national world, we are just a little blip on the map, right? And those big national carriers don't recognize us as big as we think we are, right? And they don't necessarily want to give us the best everything that we might think that we deserve. But guess what? AMBA has a presence much more national level than I could ever help you with. So when they're dealing with however many associations they have, times however many people are in each association, those numbers are huge compared to our 20,000 people. And with numbers, you get, the volume that you bring is what will enable the rates as well as the carrier even deciding to work with you. So I don't, little old me who has been your representative for 18 years, I do not have the clout that AMBA has. And so I'm so excited that we're going to be able to offer so many more benefits, and really that's increasing the value of your membership. So again, we're going to use that to help us all and give you all benefits that we don't currently have, but we're also going to utilize that as a mechanism to increase our membership. And when we increase the that's what we all want. I mean, that's what we need to keep this organization going, right? So when we have more to offer, we'll get more people. It's just going to be that simple. AMBA's going to tell you all about the things that they have and what they're doing and how they're going to help us. But I just wanted to introduce you to them and tell you that I'm still, a part of RPEA. I'm still going to be the person who comes to your meetings when you want me to. I'm still going to be the person that when Joanne has a question, she's going to call me and say, Candy, oh my God, I need blah, blah, blah. I still will be here. So I'm not going away. All of you have my personal cell phone number. And that's what I give to the members also, by the way. But this is going to help us all. Believe me. When I get the calls from the members telling me about their cat, I still want to hear that. I still want to talk to them. But for all the people that are waiting for me to call them back because I'm talking to the lady about her cat aren't going to have to wait anymore, because we're going to have many more people to answer the phone. It's just going to be really great. So I'm excited about it. Today is day one. So later when you go, oh, what are all the benefits? We're going to know some of them today, but this is going to be an ongoing thing for a really long time, and it's going to get better and better as we go. So stay tuned, but I want to, bring up Bo and Richard and have them tell you guys more. I actually have to leave to go to another meeting, so I won't be here, but you all know how to reach me, and if you don't, you call Kathleen or somebody and they'll get you to me. So thank you so much. I look forward to seeing y'all soon.
Thank you, Jen.
Bye, Candy.
All right. Thank you so much, Candy. I appreciate that. So my name is Bo Carr, and I here with AMBA. This is Richard Rowland. I'll let him introduce himself here. But we're a national marketing company. We work with associations very much like yours across the United States, and we're really excited to be here. In fact, I'm here from our home office in Austin, Texas. I am not a Texan, but I've lived there for a few years, and they're in our home office. It is so great to be here. It feels like fall. It's starting to look like fall. That is very different than in Austin, Texas, where it's still 95 degrees and a little bit brown and tan. But it's great to be back here because I'm a graduate of University of Vermont. I spent some time in this part of the country and in upstate New York, so it's great to be back in this area for sure. And we're excited to be partners with you all.
I'm going to let you talk about our group today.
All right. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Monday.
As Bo said, my name's Richard Rowland, and I hail from the Commonwealth, of Pennsylvania. So I'm your neighbor to the south. I've been with AMBA now for 8 years. Prior to joining the company, I served for 30 years as executive director of the Pennsylvania Association of School Retirees. So an entity very similar to yours in the sense that volunteer membership organization, not affiliated with any union, nonpartisan, but we recruited anybody who worked in the public schools, from bus driver all the way down to superintendent. So I had the pleasure to work for them for 30 years, grew our membership to about 42,000 members in the state. So membership is my passion. So the long and short of that is you can feel free to talk to me without fear that I'm going to try to sell you anything, because I am not a licensed insurance agent and it's illegal for me to sell you anything. I'll talk to you about your cats. I'll talk to you about your incompetent legislators like we have down in Pennsylvania, but I'm not going to sell you anything. We partner currently with over 80. Not all of them. It was. How's this? On? Okay. It must shut off. We partner with over 80 retired public employee public sector organizations. About 20 retired public employee groups like yours. Another 40 or so retired school employees organizations like I work for in Pennsylvania. Retired police and fire organizations, active educator, non-union affiliated groups. All that together comprises 80 associations across the country, public sector. Now, recently, 2 years ago, we acquired another company that works with associations that are in the private sector. Alumni associations, various professional groups like lawyers and doctors, etc. All told now, we're working with about 450 associations across the country. And thank you, finally. I don't have an educator's voice, unfortunately. But anyway, AMBA is now, I think, the largest affinity marketing company in the United States. And as Candy indicated, that helps. That gives us great leverage to deal with these insurance companies and bring the best products we can to you. Your clicker. Membership. So very important. how many of you would agree that the most important reason that people should join RPA is because to support your advocacy efforts in dealing with the legislature and monitoring the contract negotiations? Show of hands, how many would agree with that? Okay. Absolutely true. And we understand that as a company. The number one reason that we need to help you increase your membership for your benefit is to increase the strength of your advocacy efforts. Okay? So we specialize in partnering with our association to help them grow their membership. Now, from our perspective, why would we do that? All right? We provide member-only benefits. The benefits that we'll be offering your members are only going to be available to your members. We will be marketing extensively to prospective members with the condition if they want the product that we're offering, they have to join RPA. So very simply, for us to grow our business, our sales, we need to help you increase your membership because we're only going to sell to your members. Make sense? So that's why we align with the organizations to help grow their membership. We're missing part. Okay.
Yeah, come on.
Gotcha. Okay. This is what the memberships of our associations that we partner with look like generally. A lot of them are geared toward the elder groups. See that highest bar on the right-hand side is your 80 plus. This is common across the country. A lot of the associations are aging in their membership. Our marketing is really focused a lot toward the younger segments. And what we've been able to do with most of our partner organizations is help them broaden and lower the average age of their membership. So much of our marketing, when all of it kicks in, is going to be geared towards driving younger members into your membership. Make sense? And the other thing we want to emphasize here in terms of membership, we don't just focus on recruiting new members. We stay with you and work with you throughout the process. It's also about engaging those members that we bring in, help them get plugged into the things that your association does. Because if they get engaged with you, they're going to stay with you. So renewing, engaging, reinstating, recruiting, all of that is what we're going to be engaged in to help you grow your membership. And Bo, if you would start talking a little bit about the marketing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you so much, Richard. So I just wanted to give on the next couple slides, just a little bit of a preview of what you're going to see as far as the style of marketing and that sort of thing. And again, we try to focus 75% of our marketing on prospective members. And for those of you, the members in the room, these are the kinds of marketing that you'll see around dental, vision, and the other benefits. And we'll talk about the benefits here as we go along. But we found it important to meet the members and retirees where they are, right? So whether it's digital, on your computer, on your phone, social media, email, direct mail continues to be a strong and expensive, but a strong marketing lever for us. And so soon you'll start to see some of this marketing roll out. What I want to be clear too about is that we're a piece of the puzzle. And a lot of the things that you've heard today, I'm really excited, and it was great for me to hear as well today about all the activities happening within the local chapter and the grassroots. Everybody here, word of mouth is still the number one way to recruit new members, right? Probably most of you in this room are here because somebody else told you about it. And so our marketing and the marketing that Corning Place is doing all are going to support the grassroots, your efforts, and it all works together. Just as Sharice was saying, it's like a web. It all works together to help bring in new members and meet them where they are. You'll also see that this is just, I pulled out a little sample from our direct mail pieces that go to non-members, and you'll see that it leads with RPEA. It leads with a letter from your association to tell all the reasons why it's important to join. And then on the back, there's an insurance offer that is attractive. It's group only. And so the last piece that's in there is an enrollment form. And so these are ones that that I snipped and are using as an example from other organizations. But these are the kinds of marketing that you'll see from AMBA. And it really starts to get the conversation going, especially with non-members, and the phone will start to ring. I promise, as it comes in. As Richard was saying, not only is bringing new members in, but once you have new members in, showing them value and helping them engage within the association is important. And all of you know that within your local chapters, that if you can get folks to show up to a local event, they're much more likely to get involved, to volunteer, and to stay a part of the organization. And so that very first year, nationally, we find that about 50% of members will leave after the first year. And one of the biggest reasons is they just didn't find value in it. And especially younger members really want to feel engaged. They want to have somebody reach out to them. And so, again, all of us in this room are going to be part of that. But we also will show you here a few tools that AMBA has to help engage and enroll folks in benefits, because if they're enrolled in benefits, they have to not only join the association, but maintain their membership in the association to continue with those benefits. And so it's also a retention strategy as well. And so one of the things that we do is we'll go through and take a look at whoever is enrolled in benefits. If their membership has lapsed, we go ahead and are actively in real time working to get their membership back on track, back in so that they are whole, both with RPA and AMBA at any given time. And so, again, we use a friendly approach. Most people, the reason that they did not pay their dues is they just simply forgot or missed the mailing. So we'll give them a gentle nudge and then move on from there to make sure that that membership is in place. And I think the other thing that's important is we'll show some benefits as they're that are going to be ready right away. Some other things that we're building, but the biggest thing for us is that though we work with pension systems and public employees and public employee retirees across the United States, understanding what the state benefits are and where the gaps are and how we can fill in those. As Richard has said, there's a lot of things that you can sell people. We're not interested in a lot of things. We're interested in the few things that really make sense for the people in this room. And so we look forward to working together with your organization to find out what those are and how we can put those together and build a plan that's specifically for your membership. So I do want to talk about just a few things here that are going to be available very quickly. And so one of those is the My AMBA discounts. It's the corporate passport discount program. We have found this to be one of the very best, and we've had this partnership for 6 or 7 years now with Corporate Passport. This is one of the best platforms, and I'll take you through a few of these just to give you an idea. But we make this program available free for all RPA members. If you wanted to go and buy this, you can go buy it. It's $81 a year in order to get it. But all of your members are going to be able to get this program at no cost. It's something that AMBA provides for every member that we serve. And so what's great is it's an app that can be on your phone. You can take it with you. We travel quite a bit, so whenever we're showing up to a new town, getting a discount on a hotel, restaurant, finding out what's going on in town, that's a great way to say, hey, follow me where you are, and we'll get and show me the discounts that are there. I also like if I'm planning a trip or something like that, or I'll tell you about a big purchase I made recently. It's also available on your home computer as well, or tablet. And what's great is whether you're traveling, staying close to home, just shopping for everyday goods, there's great ways for you to, if you go and visit this website once or twice a month, it is very easy to recoup your dues and even get ahead on that, on the savings that you can get on things that you're already buying. So whether Skechers, Adidas, Kohl's, or you're doing some home repairs and new faucets and that sort of thing from Kohler, all of those are discounts that are available through the Passport. And this next one I want to tell you a little bit about. Right before, it was the Monday before Labor Day weekend, the dishwasher in my house went out. And I love that dishwasher. It was nice and quiet. You could never tell what was going on, but it had gone, it had its time. So it had finally crashed out. We were excited that at least that the week that it went out, that it was Labor Day weekend. So we went to all the different stores, checked out the prices, what the sales were going to be on that Thursday, found the very best one that we liked, came home, and we're excited because we're saving hundreds of dollars, and I was going to get my buddy's pickup truck and go to Home Depot and get this on the Labor Day sale. I went on Passport to the Whirlpool deal, found the exact same model that we had found in Home Depot. It was over $200 less than what the Home Depot sale was, and they delivered it for free. So I still got it back on Friday, and I didn't have to borrow anybody's truck or take a day off of work. But those are the kinds of discounts that are just really unmatched. It's amazing. And then again, technology, you'll see a lot of great opportunities there, whether it's with Lenovo, Samsung. There's also Apple discounts. Very hard to get any kind of sale on Apple products these days because everybody wants them. But for your members, you will receive the employee purchase program through Apple on here as well. And then this is one of our most popular ones. It usually kind of alternates between Costco and Sam's Club. I just looked before you came, and there's a really good deal on Sam's Club right now. For those of you who have adult children, this is where I get my Costco membership from. It's from Mom every Christmas. So that makes for a great gift idea. And usually these memberships will come in about half price for what it normally is through the deals that they have on Passport. And then again, we talked about a little bit about travel, but there's actually down here on the bottom left is a travel planner. So if you're going to travel from here to New Orleans, whether you're flying, driving, getting your hotels, having a hotel stopover on the way, on the drive down, all of those things you can plan along the way and be able to save in all of those different capacities. So whether it's the rental car, if you just want to stay over at a Days Inn or a Motel 8 just for a night on your road trip, there's great ways to be able to save and stay at a hotel for less than $100. And when you get there, if you want to stay somewhere nice on the French Quarter that may be $600-700 a night, you may find it for $200 or $300 a night. So there's something in there for everybody, but oftentimes you can find up to 60% savings on hotels, which is amazing. And then I just looked here to say, just looking at Albany, I found 532 offers just right here. So that's all the local restaurants deals that are available here, as well as all those national programs that we were talking about.
Here we go. Is it on?
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah. Okay. As I said earlier, I think we would all agree that the most important reason that people would join is to support your advocacy efforts. All right. Fundamentally, what this association does, as your colleagues do across the country, is work to provide financial security in retirement by protecting the benefits that you've earned, your pension benefits, your health benefits, etc. However, what I have seen in my own experience in working as an executive director in Pennsylvania and since in AMBA is the attitudes of people have changed. It used to be when I started, it was relatively easy to recruit members because the folks we were trying to recruit way back when were of the attitude that they were joiners, okay? That's not true anymore. People don't automatically join associations. You used to be able to just tell people what you did, and people would join out of a sense of obligation. This was true of the World War II generations and the generations that followed, including most of the baby boomers. Today, it's different. You have to sell people, not just tell them what you do, all right? So leading with advocacy and only talking about your advocacy, the other thing I've observed is that has diminished as an attraction for people to join initially. My own theory on that is we have become so divided politically as a country that people are turned off about the talk of working with legislators, advocacy efforts. They don't want to hear it. So it's not attracting people in, but it is absolutely essential for you to have this to, it's strength in numbers, etc. So what we're trying to do here, number one, is to give people another reason to join RPEA. All right. So the discount programs, You can now tell your members that if they join RPEA, they will have access to a passport that's absolutely free, and they will find something on there. I guarantee this. They will find something that more than save the cost of membership. So the financial obstacle to joining has been eliminated now with this passport program. We will be working to add benefits. We're going to take our time and learn exactly what you have available to you now in terms of benefits, what your health insurances provide, the different health insurances you have a year, what they don't cover, and then we're going to come in and fill those gaps. Because we, like RPEA, are concerned about providing financial security in retirement to your members. Unfortunately, health insurance, Medicare, etc., doesn't cover everything. You know, you're familiar, of course, with long-term care is not covered by Medicare. You need a separate policy. Those kind of things we will look for and put in place for you. But as we're doing that, we're also going to be working to educate your members on the issues around different types of insurances and such. I'm sorry Candy had to leave. I want to commend, first of all, Candy for helping to bring AMBA to RPA and introduce RPA. I got to had an opportunity last night to spend some time with her and get to know her. Well, a couple things struck me right away. Number one, her love for this association. Working with you for 18 years, she wanted to help you, and that's why she brought us on board. The other thing that I was impressed by is her approach and how she goes about selling the products she sells. And it's one that we very much agree with. It's put service before sales, all right? Educate members and let them make their own decision. And that's what we're going to be doing in a couple ways. First of all, we will introduce for you, so hopefully soon, a series of webinar opportunity to educate you on the issues. Here's some examples from our life insurance webinar program. You know, what is life insurance? What can you do with it? The types of life insurance, living benefits of life insurance. How does death impact your pension payouts? Those kind of issues. When we do webinars, we don't talk specific products. We talk about the issues and help them understand what the issues is. And then if they want to follow up and have us, ask us to provide solutions, then we'll talk about specific products that might be available to them. But it's educationally focused. Again, more about the life insurance. That's one webinars. We have them on long-term care insurance. We have them on all sorts of different issues that we'll introduce via Zoom. And then eventually, Candy will become trained on the benefits in these kind of seminars, and she'll be out there promoting at the chapter level. Hopefully, we'll be adding agents at some point to help her and get more out and do live presentations to your chapters. But additionally, benefits review are available on an individual basis, so that members can call the 800 number that we have, and we have teams of people working in Austin and Iowa that will take people through what we call a benefits review. And what the benefit representatives do in a review is, first of all, start with talking to the folks about what they have now, okay, and helping them to understand what they have. The objective is not to change anybody from what they have. But you would be surprised how many times I have heard from benefit representatives that in talking with the benefit review, of helping members understand that they could have filed a claim for this and helping people file that claim retroactively. So they begin with helping people understand what benefits they have now and to make sure they're fully utilizing what they have. And then they can identify the gaps in coverage. What are you doing for long-term care? Anything, and then talk to them about those gaps in coverage. Again, the goal is to help them become more financially secure in retirement. When talking, don't ever hesitate to encourage people to talk to an AMBA person in a benefit review, to do a benefits review. Because understand, like Candy, our representatives put service before sales, all right? There's a lot of insurance people out there running around selling similar products to what our people will ultimately try to sell. What's the difference? They can't be held accountable if they sell you something you don't need or you can't afford. You talk to an AMBA person, because of the relationship and the contractual obligations we have RPA, the association will hold us accountable. So if our members sell, or our representatives sell you something you don't need or can't afford, you complain to your association, that jeopardizes our relationship. And we are going to put your leaders, Diana and staff, in communication with all of the other associations in the country. All right? So, if we have a complaint to RPA, and she brings that to the attention of all the other associations across the country, that puts our whole business in jeopardy. So, number one, our agents will not sell you anything you don't need or you can't afford. When they do recommend a product, the other thing you can be assured of is that it's a good product and a good company. We only partner with A-plus rated companies, and because of our size and our leverage, we can negotiate better rates than generally can be found anywhere else, subject to the laws of your state. So that's it about reviews.
Very good. Just a few more slides here. And I wanted to just take a quick pause and say, so far what you've heard is with the dues that you paid in 2024 and the dues that you're paying in 2025, not only are you getting the same benefits from RPA that you would normally have available to you, but now we're adding these three, right? Where the passport discount, the availability to have educational webinars, and then also a complimentary benefits review for every member. That is something that every single member is going to get, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's going to be the same for the dues that you're already paying. I've had a lot of questions about this morning, and so I do want to touch on some of the additional supplemental benefits that we're working to bring into New York for your association. And so some of that, we've got a team working back in Austin at our headquarters to explore these with the various carriers. And then again, we'll be working directly with you all to understand these as well. So as Candy mentioned, dental and vision is not changing. Exactly what it is today is what it's going to be tomorrow. We're looking at enhancing some additional benefits there. So more to come on that, but that is one thing that is not going to change this month or in the next few months. So that's something that you can rest assured, and Candy is your go-to person on all things dental and vision. Aging in place is a category that is very popular across the United States that we get questions about quite a bit. Everybody wants to stay in their home for as long as possible, and there's now a lot of different both technology as well as insurance plans that'll help with in-home care and just the ability for you to live independently within your home. And we're exploring different areas to expand those benefits here as well. Long-term care insurance, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but that's coming soon. And then, of course, life insurance. So those are some top categories that we're exploring, and they'll be coming very soon. We'll also have right away. These are ones that you can opt into, and there's premiums for. But a great ID and fraud protection. So that's available, on your computer, for your phone. But it also does allow you to claim back. So if somebody does steal your personality or your ID, that you're able to get that to claim back some of those funds. And then legal assistance. We found this to be a great program where, if you're getting your will done, any of those things, this is a monthly program, and so it's quite affordable. And we found that a lot of people like it because you can get your will done this month, and then as things change in life, you can just update it, and you always have access to attorneys for various things.
Bo, can I ask you to wrap up, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
I've just got a couple more slides here. We'll be wrapped up. So Start Hearing I know that there's a hearing benefit that comes with your dental or the vision. And then we also, so that's a great alternative. And then for your members, the Connect America is a great technology that helps. It's one of the if you push the button, it'll connect you to a representative who can get you help. So if you fall in that sort of thing, your members will receive a 38% discount over the rate that everyone else gets there. We talked a little bit about long-term care, and so that's coming both on the insurance side, and then also Brookdale offers your members a discount on those services when you take advantage of them. And then we're also exploring some others like the emergency medical transportation. This is one of our most popular benefits across the United States. So we're hoping that in the first few months of the year of this new year, that we'll be able to have that, and we'll have more information.
We really do need to wrap up. I'm sorry, we're running late.
All right. So thank you very much, everybody. We're excited to be with you. We'll be out here until 1 o'clock for you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. So I'm going to ask you to hold your questions for Bo and Richard. I understand the controller is in the building, but before he comes in, I'd like to ask our legislative consultant, Kevin Cleary from Kevin Cleary Government Relations, to talk to you about our advocacy, the bills and the legislation that we were following this year, what the status is, and what we're going to be looking at for next year. This is always very important, and as you know, sometimes we partner with the chapters to ask you to do lobby days, or to ask you to notify or get in touch with your legislators, so that and we give you information that you can tell them to help us advocate for bills that are important to all of you as members. So Kevin's going to give us a little more information about that. You can use that podium here if you like. So thank you, Kevin. Nice to see you.
Good morning, everybody. Wow. Good. I think this past year we were fairly successful. We got a number of bills. We're very interested in trying to get you a COLA. It's very expensive. We think we have the right bill in. We're trying to work with the other interests to coalesce around a COLA, which would not only increase the base, but would provide some catch-up for some people on more fixed incomes. We got some of those bills moving. It's unclear. So that was one of our issues. We were very successful in the budget in beating back efforts to take away some of the existing benefits that you get. As you know, you get reimbursed for your Medicare premium, and you currently get reimbursed for your Part A and Part B IRMA. The budget wanted to take away your IRMA payment. So we were able to beat that back. I think we're concerned generally about the whole issue of the Medicare benefit. As you know, when Medicare was introduced, the state made a pact with retirees that when they require you to enroll in Medicare as a condition of continuing your health coverage, they were going to hold you harmless for all the Medicare charges. Over time, that largely held, but starting with Governor Cuomo, he tried to freeze the Medicare premium and take away your IRMA. So that has become that's become an ongoing budget battle for us. The first year, Governor Hochul did not make a move on that. We thought it perhaps was in the rearview mirror, but last year's budget, it was revived. I'm sorry. We think next year's budget's going to be very tight. The governor has already announced that through her budget director that there'll be no new spending on the part of the state agencies, and she's also announced that there'll be no new revenue. So given that context, we expect a very tight budget submission by the governor. So that will come in January. So we'll react to that at the time. The legislature, she also is thinking about reopening the congestion pricing issue, which she froze and is in the courts. That's going to cost some money as well. So there is some tentative obligations to spend. So we expect next year's budget to be pretty tight. And typically after a legislative election, the budgets tend to be a little bit tighter. The governor's not running this year, as you know. So this is probably will be a tight budget. And then if she is anticipating any spending initiatives, she would wait till her reelection year, which would be the year after next. We've been fighting hard to get identical benefits for Medicare folks. Medicare does not pay for long-term care, but they do, and as a result, the NISHIP benefit for skilled nursing facilities is not included. Despite the fact that active employees get it, when you retire and you go on Medicare, you lose your skilled nursing facility benefit. So we've been trying to fight that for years. We've had some good legislative allies. One of them we're losing this year. Senator Breslin's retiring. So we'll need to get a new sponsor. That bill was reported to the fiscal committees last year. We have had it pass both houses unanimously and be vetoed. But the governor is with the veto, the governor said that we thought that she would entertain putting some funding in the budget because she said there was no money in the budget to pay for the bill. But she's shown no interest in funding that benefit as well. So that becomes that's an ongoing fight for us also. As you're probably aware, in New York City, it's been in the courts for a couple of years. The city tried to impose a mandatory Medicare Advantage health benefit on city retirees who had earned their own health benefit. That remains in the courts. We were up against not only the governor the mayor who was trying to save $600 million, but also the active employee unions were in favor of it because the $600 million was arguably going to go in the form of some sort of a pay increase to active employees. In the state, last year, we got some legislation introduced by Assemblyman Zebrowski and Senator Harckham, which would not allow the state to follow a similar path. There's been a lot of rumors that civil service has been talking to insurance carriers about the possibility of Medicare Advantage as an alternative to NISHIP. That has not happened so far. Assemblyman Zebrowski and Senator Harckham have legislation in that was advanced to the fiscal committees in each house. We lost Senator Zebrowski this year to retirement, so we'll be looking for a new sponsor there as well. Senator Harckham is very enthusiastic about the bill. So there's been a lot of attacks on the health benefits, especially for retirees. It seems to be an easier way to save money, so we'll see in a tight budget how that fares. And as we try to get a cost of living adjustment for retirees who certainly their cost of living has not kept up with the cost of living. They're very expensive bills, which is why we're trying to coalesce around a bill and perhaps get some additional movement on it. Again, it would not only increase the base on which the cost of living is computed, but it would also provide a catch-up for some of the cost of living adjustments that were due and not granted over time because the state at the time didn't include them on an annual basis. So, any other bills that you want to talk about?
Just talk a little bit about changes in the legislature, retirements and people coming on and so forth. We've got a number of elections, important elections too.
Yeah. Go ahead. Hey. The Assembly has 150 members, and 15 of them are retiring. 11 of those are Democrats, four are Republicans. And in the Assembly, there'll be 8 committees who will be losing their chairs. So there'll be a lot of musical chairs going on as people with less seniority are now going to be eligible for the first time to chair committees. Some committee chairs may want to move to other committees. There's a couple of big committees in the Assembly that are available, Ways and Means being one of them. The Speaker pro temp is also available. So the Assembly is going to have a 10% turnover year from one election to the other is fairly significant. In the Senate, the 4 senators are not running for re-election. Senator Breslin, as I mentioned, is retiring. There are 3 other senators that are either running for Congress or ran for Congress and didn't win a primary. So it's a smaller number. Each house in the state legislature has a supermajority, which means that over two-thirds of the members in New York are Democrats. Arguably, that could mean if they got their self together, they could override any veto because it requires a 2/3 majority. That's never happened. It's unlikely. But the fact that they have supermajorities is significant. It's unclear at this point in time because there is also a number of close races, how that's going, because the supermajority is fairly narrow in each house. So it's unclear at this point whether they'll be maintained in each house and even how significant it is given the fact that they haven't exercised the supermajority stuff. A real friend to RPEA is the Assembly Government Employees Chair, Stacey Pfeffer Amato. She's got a tough race. She had a tough race last time. Fingers crossed and she gets reelected because she's been incredible for us in terms of getting bills introduced and trying to get bills moved. Yeah, Queens. Southern Queens, right? No, Democrat. She's a chair. All the chairs are Democrats. So we're concerned about that. She's been fantastic. The governor's popularity, as I'm sure you've read, at least as far as the polls are concerned, is well under 50%. I think the last one was under 40%. Yeah. And in fact, her popularity is lower than Donald Trump's in New York at this point in time, which is, at least to me, is kind of astonishing. We're hearing that she has made offers to congressional candidates to help their campaigns, and some of them aren't interested in her help at this point in time, given her popularity. So she's got a hill to climb in 2 years if she's going to get reelected. So we'll see how that plays out. So I think next year we'll probably still see a very strong majority, Democratic majority in each house. They'll have a tough time with a budget that's going to be awful stringent. I'm sure there might be a few surprises. Any surprise would not be welcome, but we're available to fight that. And generally, we've done very well. The legislature's been very responsive in the budget to make sure that Medicare benefits and other things are protected.
Great. Thank you very much, Kevin. We really appreciate it. And if you have, Kevin, you're going to be sticking around?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have questions for Kevin, he'll still be here. The controller is here. While he's coming in, I want to say a big, big, big thank you to our staff. Dean in the background. Dean, could you wave at us, please? And also Kathleen Liberty, who you already know. They do a fabulous job for us. Sharon, you met just a few minutes ago. And whenever you have a question, an issue, anything, you can pick up the phone. They are the people who answer the phone and who answer your questions. So now, the moment you've all been waiting for. And I'm going to ask our keynote speaker if he would come up here, please.
How are you? Hey, thank you. Thanks for going, all right. So you have a good turnout. You do it. You just roll in the state on the show up.
Yeah, we even got Rowan to show up. How about that? So just a little bit of background here. Tom DiNapoli was born and raised and still lives on Long Island, where I was in Nassau County too, which is where I was raised as well. Did you know that? Oh yeah. Valley Stream. You were Hempstead. No, North Hempstead. Yep, neighbors. We were neighbors. He was elected to the New York State Assembly in 1986, and that's where I met him because he was chairing the Environmental Conservation Committee, and I was at that time working for, again, a member organization that had environmental issues. So we go back longer than I think I even want to remember, quite frankly. He was first elected state controller in 2007, has been elected every time since then. And as you know, because he sends out notices, and we always talk about it, under his leadership, the New York State pension system has become one of the best managed pension systems in the country. And I know he'll talk a little bit about that, so I'm not going to steal any of that thunder. So he did an interview with a New York City reporter recently, and here's some of the things he talked about that I found out about you. He said he was inspired to go into public service by Martin Luther King. And he felt that public service was his calling because it's a way to make a positive difference with people. Now, the reporter asked him what his dream job would be. And he said he wanted to be a writer. He would write a play or write a novel, right? And he probably has lots of stories to tell about all the people that he's helped and met along the way. So we're very fortunate to have Tom overseeing the pension fund especially because some of our members who retired many, many years ago, whose pensions are small, whose Social Security is small, and they rely on pension and Social Security for their income. And Tom keeps the pension fund safe that we all can be assured of our pension income. So let's give him a nice warm welcome. You can use the code in there.
Thank you, Diana. Good afternoon, everyone. What a great turnout. It's great to be at Diana. I just said you made me very nervous because I never know what I say to some of the reporters. So I wasn't sure what she was going to say. I was also nervous because a few years ago, I think it was after an annual meeting, I sent in my membership for RPEA, even though, because remember I said I look forward to when I could be a member. So Ed said, you don't have to be retired to be a member. But I have a feeling my membership may be due. So check the records and see if dues are in order. So Ed Brown will probably check that out as treasurer, right? So Diana, thank you for the nice introduction, for the invitation to be here, and for our long association. We spent some good years together in the legislature as well, and really appreciate your important role as president of this very important organization. I also want to thank, obviously, the entire team at RPEA, the staff, Mary Fry, the executive vice president, Ed Brown, your treasurer, Bill Barrett, assistant treasurer, Patricia Walsh, secretary. Alan Dorn has stepped up to be interim executive director, so how about a collective round of applause for those who make the work done each and every day. And of course, my commendations to all of the RPEA members, because you are the ones who bring strength to this association from every part of our state, and you are the ones whose unity and voice really does secure retirement benefits, health benefits, up to date on issues. Your advocacy is very, very key. I would also be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that I'm very proud to say we have some graduates from the Comptroller's Office. Mentioned Bill Barrett, we'll mention him again because he was one of the people that made sure the pension fund was invested wisely many years ago, so he gets some credit for the fact that we're in good shape. Of course, Kevin Murray, who greeted me and said, don't remind people it was just my birthday. So I'm not going to mention that because I'm sure you already took care of that. But I will mention that when I first became a controller, Kevin headed the benefit side of the retirement system, really did such an extraordinary job. Obviously, he's been a very key part of the RPEA family for a long time, and it's always great to be in his company. And I know your board member, who's my former colleague from the Assembly, Roanne DeStito. I think it's an asset to have someone who was such a fierce fighter for public employees in the legislature to be part of your leadership team. And she promised me she was going to show up today, and here she is. There's Roanne DeStito. And I also would be remiss if I didn't mention your representation of your colleagues in terms of our work each and every day. Diana, in addition to her leadership of RPEA, serves on our advisory council for the retirement system, and we appreciate her input there. Ed Brown serves on our actuarial advisory committee, so he knows all the numbers and everything. So if you have tough questions about how we come up with the employer contribution rates, ask Ed, don't ask me. And Paul Moore is a very active member of our audit committee. So RPA is well represented. So give a round of applause to all those folks who give us help and assistance each and every day. So I know you've had a long morning, but I want to give you an update on a couple of things. Obviously, I'll be talking about the pension fund, but let me give you a quick update as well as far as how our state is doing, because you're all New Yorkers, you're all taxpayers, you care about what's happening in the larger community. And I would say the news overall is good. You know, certainly from where we were a couple of years ago, impact of COVID is by and large in the rearview mirror, not completely, still got to be careful. There's been a spike again, as you know, in recent weeks, so be mindful of that. I got my vaccination 2 weeks ago. I'm not telling you what to do, but be careful out there. From an economic point of view, is certainly what we look at in the Comptroller's office. We certainly see good news. We've been in a recovery mode with the state's economy for the last couple of years. Why do we track the economy? Well, the economy then drives the tax base that funds all the important programs for the state of New York. So when you look at the 2 million or so jobs we lost during the depths of the COVID close down, we've now grown back all the jobs that were lost on a statewide basis, and that's very, very good news. The challenge is when you drill down on the numbers, because we're a big state, every region's a bit different. Not every region is back 100%. Some regions are back a little over 100%. New York City, which for a long time actually lagged the rest of the state, was one of the main reasons why New York's numbers lagged the rest of the nation. New York City has come back, more than 100%. Southern Tier, North Country, still facing a fair amount of challenges, certain parts of central New York. And not all sectors are back 100%. Certainly in terms of construction, government jobs as well are fewer right now when you look at state and local government positions than they were pre-pandemic. So there is variance between regions, there's variance between sectors, but we're still adding jobs, and that's good news. The unemployment rate over the summer was down to about 4.4%. So there's positive news as far as the employment picture. And my anticipation is we're going to continue to see positive economic activity. As you know, the Fed's cut the interest rates, so that's going to have an impact, in terms of mortgages and people's confidence about spending, and interest rates hopefully will start to come down on credit cards and so on. So I think this is going to be positive trends as far as the overall economy. Hopefully it'll be reflected in good news as far as tax revenue. So again, when we look at tax revenue coming to the state and to our local governments, we look at sales tax every month. And again, here's where we see continued growth. When we look at the second quarter for this year, we had statewide increase over 2% in sales tax revenue. Not quite as robust a growth as we saw a year or two ago, again, coming out of COVID and when inflation was higher, kind of going back to pre-pandemic levels. But what we're really seeing across the state is that for those local governments, particularly counties, who then share some of that tax revenue with villages and cities and towns within the jurisdiction, and certainly for the state, where sales tax is the second biggest revenue source after personal income tax, we're seeing positive growth. Personal income tax as well. So when we do the budget, when the legislature, the governor do the budget, we then monitor what's happening. And again, people sometimes say, well, I hear about all these taxpayers that are, moving out of the state, and we're losing people. And it is true, our population is going down. There is a net loss as far as taxpayer migration, we call it. We continue to chart that. We are losing some folks at the upper end that pay a higher share of the income taxes. Actually, we have a bigger number of folks leaving at the lower end of the income scale because of the affordability question in the state. But the reality is not everybody's leaving. And when we look at our projections, particularly for personal income tax, because that's the biggest tax revenue for the state, we continue to have revenue coming in higher than projected. So the state budget that was put together this year, the highest in the state's history, is holding together because actually the revenues are exceeding projections. But I believe we need to be mindful of the fact, though, that is an issue of having a net loss of taxpayers, particularly at the upper end. We need to be mindful of that as we head into the next budget cycle, which will kick off actually next month in November. It's called a quick start to the budget process, where the revenue and spending projections are put forward by the governor and the legislature and the controller's office. And the two big cost drivers in the state budget continue to be education and health care, right? The school aid formula and the Medicaid program. Both of those often are contentious issues. Roanne can remember those days when we served in the legislature. School aid, the governor made some proposals on how to change some of that formula, very contentious in this year's budget discussion. So, as is often the case, all those changes were taken off the table. Rockefeller Center is doing a study on how to reform the school aid formula. I think that will be a big focus of discussion next year. And healthcare through the Medicaid program, very expensive program. We've made a number of recommendations to our audits about ways to save money on Medicaid spending without hurting services. I have to say, by and large, our audits are not necessarily adhered to. As controller, we can do an audit, we can make recommendations. I can't force any agency to adopt them, but I certainly think the issue of the level of Medicaid spending, it's an important program. A lot of people really depend on it, but we need to be smarter about how we're spending that money. So stay tuned for discussions about those two big items in the next budget cycle. So obviously, a big issue of concern to all of you is how's our pension fund doing? And Diana was kind to point out that we are benefiting, not just during my tenure, but from controllers before me, who always kept a priority on keeping the state pension fund in a strong position. When we say we have among the best pension funds, if not the best in the country, I want you to think about a couple of things. We're big. $267 some odd billion. We're the third largest in the country. What makes us as strong as we are is not how big we are, as impressive as that may be. What makes us strong is how well funded we are. So the real issue is do we have enough money in our assets to pay for the obligation we have to our retirees? And that's where New York State has always come out on top. The numbers always change, and depending on the valuation of the fund and the level of payouts, there's always some difference from year to year. So about 2 years ago, we were actually at 103% funded, right? Over 100% based on the numbers. Now we're about 93% funded. Anything in the high 80s or into the 90s means you are a well-funded, virtually a fully funded public pension plan. So the fact that we're 93% funded is very, very good news for all of our retirees. And the same can be said for the teachers' retirement system. I think, as you know, as state controller, I have a seat on the board of the teachers' retirement system. And then, of course, we have the 5 New York City plans. The New York City plans are also well-funded. They're not quite as well-funded as we are at the state system. But again, when you compare our funded status to pension plans across the country, New York is always in the top tier. So that should give you and your friends and neighbors who are part of the plan confidence. I know when the markets look a little shaky or they go down, retirees get very concerned. Is my pension going to be jeopardized if it's not a good stock market? And the answer is, first of all, legally, the state constitution protects your pension benefit. So thank you for making sure the Constitutional Convention was voted down and not happened a few years ago. Let's not forget that battle, right? You should applaud that because you guys were in the lead on that. But also, the reality is the money is there. And the money is there for people who are working now and hope to be retired in the near future. The challenge we have in managing the fund, and Bill Barrett and Kevin Murray can certainly relate to this, is that we have to make decisions for the man or woman who's going to start to work for New York State or for the, Albany County or the city of Troy, the person who's starting to work today or tomorrow and not going to be retiring for 25, 30 years. Those are the folks that when we're making our judgments about how we're managing the fund, where we're putting the money, those are the people we're worried about, because those are the ones we have to plan for. And I always say, keep in mind for the people who are retired today or the people who are working today and have confidence with how our plan is funded, that's because folks that were in positions like mine years ago were making smart choices to make sure that we would keep the plan in good shape. And it's not been a Republican or Democrat issue. You look at Ned Reagan's record or Carl McCall's record, even Alan Hevesey's record. We go back to Arthur Levitt. Some of you remember Arthur Levitt. Still the longest serving controller. I haven't beaten his record yet, but I'm number 2. Roanne wants me to be number 1, but she's not commenting on that. But that's because decisions were made back then that keep the plan in good shape today. So what is our strength as far as our investments? It's our diverse portfolio. We don't put all our eggs in one basket. I'm sure that's what you do at your personal finances as well. Just to give you a sense of our breakdown right now, we're at about 42% in public equities. So those are the stocks you'd be familiar with in terms of Wall Street. Fixed income, largely treasuries, other kinds of fixed income vehicles, now about 15%. Private equity, 13%. Real estate and real assets combined about 8%. I'm sorry, I'm losing track. I skipped private equity, didn't I? Private equity is 15%. Hey, let me go back to my numbers. I'm too busy talking and not reading. Public equity is 42%. That one I said right. Fixed income is 22%. I know Bill Barrett was saying, how come so little in fixed income? It's 22%. Generally, it's been 25%. It's a little less now. 15% in private equity, 13% in real estate, real assets, 8% in what we call opportunistic and credit, kind of distressed opportunities. So traditionally, we've been more 50% in public equity in stocks, 25% fixed income, and 25% in private markets, real estate, private equity. That's for a couple of reasons. Number one, a big chunk in fixed income because that's the safest place to put money. It's also the place where in recent years, you're not making a lot of money. When interest rates started to go up, we did a little better, but for a long time, it was not a place to make money. The concern with having 50% in public equities is that the volatility in the stock market means that if you come up to a difficult year, your fund is going to be significantly impacted by that. So two things happened over the past year, and they're very much related. Not to get too technical, but under New York State law, we had a limitation on how much money we could put in private markets, roughly 25%. That's why I mentioned 25% earlier in private markets. The legislature has changed that, so now we can have up to 35% in private markets. So that would be real estate, real assets, private equity. So we had an updated asset allocation, and what we decided to do, not with any extreme change, but we decided to put more of our assets allocated to private markets. We did that for two reasons. One reason was what I alluded to earlier. The public markets have such a level of volatility, and fixed income has not been generating a significant return. So the view was that in the private markets, real estate and private equity over the long term, we might get some stronger returns. The other reality is that because of how those assets are valued right now, we actually were higher than our previous allocation. So to a certain extent, the percentages I gave you really reflect where we're at right now. Not necessarily that we're moving money, it's just more a reflection of what the valuations are right now. But the good news about the change that the legislature made is that we have a little more flexibility, to move within our asset allocation. People always say when the stock market maybe goes down, do we move money around? The reality is because we're so big, by the time we would do any dramatic change from what our asset allocation is, the markets would probably change again. So that's why the most important investment decision we make is every 5 years we do a deep dive, we do a deep study of what our asset allocation should be. And we put it out there, and it's all public. It's on our website. If you didn't write down the numbers I just gave you twice, but we stick with it, and we have confidence in the long term that if we stick with the asset allocation that we've put out there, we're going to be able to meet our long-term goal. And what is our long-term goal? Our long-term goal, which I reported to you last year, is a 5.9% long-term rate of return. We are one of only, I think now there are only 3 public pension systems in the country that have a long-term investment goal of less than 6%. So we're more conservative than other plans, right? Now, when you're more conservative, it means you're assuming you're going to earn less money over time, which actually makes your plan more expensive. You have to anticipate, you may have to make up for not meeting your investment goal. But by having a more conservative goal, you're more likely to meet your investment goal. Why is that important? I mentioned we're 93% funded. And actually, if you look at some of our sister plans in New York State, teachers is probably at about our level, maybe even a little higher. New York City, very similar to us, a little behind us usually. But they use a higher assumed rate of return. If you actually applied our 5.9 return to their investment calculations, we would look even more favorable. So, some of this becomes a numbers game, but I just want to emphasize the point that we are a conservative plan in terms of our long-term goal, and that's what drives our asset allocation. And when you look at the numbers, the likelihood of us meeting over time that 5.9% goal is more than a 50% probability. And that's what we're really trying to do. We're trying to stay as close to that 5.9 every year. This past year, we value the fund March 31st every year, the end of the state fiscal year. We had an 11.5% positive return, so way in excess of 5.9. Some years we don't make the number. The year before we had a slight negative. So again, it all balances out over time. And the big plus that we had was, coming out of COVID when the markets roared back, you may recall we had a 33% positive return. I took full credit for that. But I also said it's never going to happen again. And that was the year that we did 2 things. We cut the contribution rate to government employers, but we also took a chunk of those big earnings, and that's what we did to lower the assumed rate of return and do it in a year when we're still cutting the contribution rate. Because you know what the employers say when we have a good year? They say cut the rates more, right? So that's always the balancing act that we have. Our first quarter of this year, which again, we're on the state fiscal year, was June 30th. We had a positive return of 1.38, for that one quarter. I don't have the September numbers yet, but it was a good quarter, so we're going to have 2 positive quarters under our belt. You never know where the markets are headed. There's a lot of volatility out there. You all know the world is kind of falling apart around us, and there's a big distraction with the national scene right now. So remains to be seen what the next 2 quarters will be, but I'm confident how we're structured with our asset allocation, how we're structured with a more conservative assumed rate of return, we're going to be in a strong position. Now, you're saying, all right, we had an 11.5% return, 5.9 goal, so you made plenty of money. So are you going to cut the contribution rate to the government employers this year because you're taxpayers as well, right? So you're concerned when we charge more money to school districts and local governments, particularly the state, can manage increases a little easier given the size of the state budget. Well, we did increase the employer contribution rate for the payment that'll be due in February of 2026, right? We're always projecting down the road. It was a slight increase for, the average for the employees' retirement system went from 15.2% of payroll to 16.5%. Police and fire is always much higher, from 31.2 to 33.7 of payroll. Why is this? Well, a couple of reasons. First of all, the best news, I can continue to report to you that you're all going to live well into your 90s. Isn't that great? But don't look so happy about it. You should be applauding it. Good news for you. Means our pension system's got to have more money to pay for all of you living well into your 90s. It's a good problem to have. This is part of the demographic analysis that our actuary, does every year when we calculate the rates. We also continue to see a higher pace of retirements. This is one of the after effects of COVID. A lot of people kind of got burned out working during the COVID years. A lot of folks said when they saw people getting sick, some people dying, reevaluating lifestyle, personal plans. So we do have a higher number of retirements than some of the pre-COVID patterns. The third piece of it is the fact that I think, as you know, your counterparts and the active employees were very effective in getting a benefit enhancement with changes on Tier 6. You know, this has been a big issue. We now have, well, at least 60%, probably even higher now, of our workforce is in Tier 5 and 6. We've actually had a dramatic turnover in the last, decade plus. So more employees in the newer tiers. The newer tiers have a lower benefit level. There's been more pressure for there to be improvements in Tier 6. And the legislature and the governor, we don't, as you know, we don't decide the benefit level in the controller's office. That's up to the legislature and the governor. And they did do some enhancements on Tier 6. So when we looked at all of this, again, with my goal of trying to keep the plan as closely funded to 100% as possible, we said we had to raise the employer contribution rate. And again, that gets back to my role as trustee and our team's role is at the end of the day to keep the plan as closely funded to 100% as possible. And we do that obviously for the benefit of our retirees so you can be sure the money is there in addition to the constitutional guarantee. We also do it because when you look at states that have money problems, budget problems, it's often because they have huge unfunded pension liabilities. Illinois, I won't name all the other states, they have poor credit ratings because their pensions are poorly funded. And now under the accounting rules, local governments have to carry on their books their share of the unfunded pension liability that the state may have. So keeping us in the high 90s, close to 100%, that makes a stronger budget and financial picture for all of New York. And also because it gives people confidence about the strength of our pension system. We continue to see in our numbers, about 80% of our retirees continue to live in New York State. And we love our friends that are, moving down south, although I wouldn't want to be down south right now with everything we're hearing in Florida, right? We want to visit them once in a while. But the fact that 80% of our retirees stay here in New York State, that means so we paid out over $15 billion in benefits last year. 80% of that money stays right here in New York, spending money, paying taxes, shopping locally. So I always try to point out that the strength of our retirement system, the confidence people have, they're continuing to live in New York, and certainly for the employees' retirement system, the average pensions are still around $25,000, $26,000, not a huge amount of money. But the difference between continuing to live in an expensive state like New York versus moving somewhere else, this is a benefit to everyone in the state. And so when you've got your friends and your neighbors who say, well, you have a pension, I don't have one, how come you have one? Well, remind them, first of all, you made the choice to be in government service, and you have a good pension because you spent enough years in the system to get a decent pension, often at lower salary than people in the private sector. And the fact that our pension system is strong, it helps everyone in the state, and you're continuing to live in New York and spending money and helping local economies. And that's why no matter how you slice it, especially if you're looking at the issue of retirement security, which I wish they were talking about more in the national debate this year than they are, the only sure way to guarantee retirement security is having a defined benefit pension. And it's unfortunate the private sector has moved away from it. Thankfully, we haven't on the public side. And certainly, I'll always stand with you to say we need to maintain that defined benefit pension. Now, that being said, and I know Diane is saying, when are you going to mention the COLA?
I would never say that.
Yes, but I could feel it. I felt the X-ray vision. So you received your COLA information for this year, and you know that New York State. So let's go back history a little bit, right? When I was first in the legislature, there was not a COLA on the books in New York State, and some of you are around long enough to remember pension supplementation, and it really was not. It just was not a good situation. Retirees would literally have to come to Albany to beg for more money in the pension, and it would go any number of years without any increase, and then you'd be lucky if you'd get some kind of an increase. So there was a big push in the late 90s to have
as other states have had, a cost of living adjustment that will be built in permanently so you don't have to come begging every year to the legislature. So I guess it was around the year 2000, the markets were strong, the plan was well funded, the employer contribution rates were very, very low, near zero, not quite zero, but very, very low. And we had a great control by named Carl McCall. The legislature said, we're going to do, well, I was in the legislature then, so we had good legislature too. We're going to do the COLA bill for our retirees. And it was, definitely the right thing to do. But the COLA that's on the books is not unlimited. In fact, it's severely limited. So, it applies to the first 18,000, depending on how many years you are retired. The benefit is calculated as a single life allowance, even if you have selected a different option. So for this year, based on how the formula is set up and looking at cost of living, it came in at 1.8%, $324, $27 a month. So, the positive news is that it is some more money in your pocket. The negative, certainly for people who perhaps have been out for a long period of time at a very, very low pension, given what inflation has been in recent years, you're obviously struggling. And I know RPEA has made a big push for the last couple of years to do an enhancement on the formula. And as Diana knows, what we do in our office, we don't weigh in on specific proposals, be it Tier 6 or COLA, because that is the purview of the legislature and the governor, but we do the fiscal note, right? Because we do have to remind everybody, and I've always said, no matter which audience I've been talking to, it's perfectly reasonable to talk about benefit enhancement or COLA enhancement, particularly because our plan is well funded. But whatever we do, we have to keep in mind the cost impact on the fund. So that's what I have to do, is to remind everybody of that, because again, it gets back to what I said earlier. We want to keep the plan as closely funded to 100% as possible. I know there was some frustration among retirees when Tier 6 enhancement happened and COLA did not happen. So what's my advice to you? Well, it's the obvious. You have to come back again. And whether you're going to get a more favorable hearing, I don't know, but you're not going to get any consideration if you don't ask. And just keep in mind, our concern in terms of the pension fund side is that depending on how any COLA enhancement is structured, it will have a cost impact on the fund. And my concern will always be making sure we're keeping the plan well funded. So I'll try to do my job with my team to get investment return that consistently exceeds that 5.9%, so that there can be a discussion about an issue like the COLA without long-term hurting the fund. But do I have the magic answer for you as to how to get the legislature I don't have that answer, right? I mean, what you just have to do is do more organizing, be reasonable in the ask. I said the same thing to the unions and the active employees. Some of them said we got to get rid of Tier 6 completely. Everybody's got to be Tier 4. I said, you know what? Don't bite off more than we could chew, to use the overused phrase. Be as reasonable in the ask as possible. That's how it's more likely to happen. But, as I said, we'll try to do our part to keep the plan well funded so there can be a thoughtful discussion. I do know, as I said earlier, and Diana reminds us all the time, for folks who've been retired for many years at a much lower pension level, the COLA has really not at all kept up with the impact of the costs. So that's my advice on that. I'll just mention quickly, I won't go into much detail on it, but we continue to do more with our investments to invest within New York State, because we like to help regional economies across New York. We do much to keep corporations accountable on a host of important issues, because we believe that good corporate citizens, companies that are well managed, are good long-term, profitable, and sustainable investments for us. All the information about our stewardship in that regard is always available on our website, so feel free to take a look at that. We have been continuing our full implementation of our retirement online. I know many of you have signed up for that to try to make it easier for you to access the system. Look, we've had some challenges, particularly with our call center. And I know some of you have tried at times to call and have had long waiting times. We're trying to address it. Part of the challenge, again, is that we've had this big increase in recent years in the number of retirements. The other challenge we've had, which is not unique to our agency, is that we've had a very hard time filling positions. Again, I think it's one of the consequences of COVID. I don't want to sound like I don't appreciate the younger generation at my age, but they all want to work 100% remote, Diana, and they don't really understand what a pension is or health benefits. So it's been hard for us to, we've had accelerated retirements. It's harder to recruit people. One of the theories of doing the Tier 6 enhancement is it might make recruitment and retention easier. But one of our real gaps has been hiring people for the call center. So as you know, the state has this temporary initiative called New York Helps, where people can get hired without having to go through all the civil service requirements as long as they meet minimum qualifications. We literally had, I think, 8,000 applications. We have been onboarding several hundred people, including a number of people for the call center and for the retirement system. So we're hoping to, first of all, get the call center to be more quickly in terms of response time. There has been an issue with backlog and recalculations, right, for people retired. If you see heads shaking. Yes, so let me say this. If you have trouble getting through, or if you particularly have a wait time, let Diana know if you can't get through. And she'll contact us and we'll expedite it. And where's Mike Blue? So I checked on your request. It was done in 2021. Your recalculation was already done. So just look at your numbers again. I got that straight. He said, when am I get my recalculation? I said, well, find out. They said, we already did it. So you're done. You're taken care of. So there you go. Satisfied customer. I didn't mean to call you out, but I did. But seriously, if you have any issue or problem, let Diana know. We'll do our best, because we know there are some situations that get very frustrating, and people then they give up trying to call, and we just don't want you to be stewing and be mad and posting nasty things about us on social media. So let Diana know. The two other things I'll mention, because many of you have grandchildren that you care about, the 529 College Savings Program we administer as well. It's a great program, separate from the pension fund, right? Doesn't mingle with those dollars. And the newer 529 program, which is the ABLE program for people with disabilities, gives them enhanced financial independence. So keep in mind those programs as well as opportunities for our office to be of help to you and your families. We have some staff here if you do have retirement questions. We have some folks from retirement that are here. And of course, the ever popular unclaimed funds. If you have lost money, you come to RPEA. There's no fee paid back to Diana if we find money for you, but we have very nice people that will search our system, and you could do that for the privacy of your home right on the computer as well. So that's kind of my wrap up, and I just wish you all good health, first and foremost, longevity. I like to have the problem that you're all living into your 90s, so I got to make more money for the pension fund, but you can have full confidence. Our plan is well funded. We're managing it in a smart way. We are trying to do a better job on the customer service end. We know that that's been an issue, but we're really trying to step up our game there. So just thank you for being part of our PEA. Thank you.
So, Tom, could we impose on you to take a few questions?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Now's your chance. You got one in the Charlene. I keep calling you Charlene. Charisse is going to come around with a microphone. You have one in the back there.
I don't have a question. I just have some good news for you. I was present when you joined RPEA, and you paid the lifetime membership, so you're good.
Oh, I thought I only did 5 years. I'm good, even better. Okay, even better. Thank you. Thank you. Thought I only did 5 years. Okay, it's even better.
Okay, other questions? Fast and heels, fast and heels. Here we go.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. DiNapoli. My name is Mona Ramjas, and I'm a little nervous. I'm a registered nurse, an advanced practice registered nurse, and I'm a nurse. One of my specialties is in psychiatry. But I've worked for the state for 25 years. My last position was Director of Nursing, Suffolk County Bureau of Public Health Nursing. Not bad for a girl who was born in a village. You spoke about Medicare and Medicaid, and you wanted to know how to cut Medicaid. You are making cuts?
Well, just be more efficient. I don't want to. We have to do a better job controlling expenses. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's nicer than saying cut.
When I worked in Stony Brook Hospital, where I worked for 4 to 6 years, I became aware of how much money we spend in Medicaid, not Medicaid.
Medicaid, yeah, the state is Medicaid.
And that is when I coined the term Medicaid abuse. Does that make sense?
Well, when you look at our audits, it makes sense. Yes. By abuse. So let me say. Well, I don't want to cut you off. You finish, then I'll comment. Yeah, you finish.
So then I went to work for Suffolk County. Right. I was a public health nurse for about 6 years, and I would go out to the elderly or the newborn, and when I became director, that's when I had to sit in the boardroom and listen to how much money we're losing here and how much money Medicare pays and Medicaid. And I hate numbers, but I had to learn that.
Sure.
And I would like to get back. I've been retired for 12 years, and I've been traveling around this beautiful country of ours as well as abroad. And I would like to get back into areas of public service and talk about this Medicaid abuse, and well, that's my term. Yeah. And how can we bring more money to our elderly in terms of Medicare contributions? Because you get these letters and you're denied this service and that service, and you have to persist. Yeah. Like I have someone who's talking about her shoes, and because she had the surgery, she's like an inch shorter, and she has to pay for those shoes herself. Mm-hmm. And we have worked in the state and took a less pay. I could have been making lots of dollars in New York City, but I didn't. I chose to work in the public forum, mm-hmm. and it was less pay, but I looked at the long-term benefits mm-hmm. of getting a retirement check. And I was lucky to get my foot in the door at the right time. And I benefit from the governor. My first governor was Mario Cuomo, mm-hmm. and he did an initiative to help send back women to school. And that's how I was able to get all these degrees behind my name, through my public service, my dedication, and utilizing the system. So I could speak to those, like you said, retaining people and how to do that, and talk about Medicaid abuse.
Well, I'll vote for you. And I want to say thank you for your choice to do public service, which is admirable, and I commend you on it. And I hope you're enjoying the fact that you made the right choice and are getting that retirement check. So, when we talk about so Medicare obviously is set by the federal government. So I would have less to offer, in terms of Medicare. In terms of Medicaid, what we have often found with our audits, and we do regular audits on Medicaid, sometimes people perceive that the reason the program is so expensive is that there's rampant fraud. What we have found is that there is some fraud, usually by the provider, not by the patient. However, the bigger opportunity to realize efficiencies or save money is in the way the system is administered. And I think that's where I would put it in the category of abuse, in that there's improper billing, there's double payments, there are people getting coverage for services that they're not entitled to because the plan doesn't look at it appropriately. They're not put. There's this big back and forth between fee-for-service versus Medicaid managed care. There have been a lot of complications with that. The system sometimes double pays people, providers, right? I'm not talking about the patients. So So we make recommendations regularly, and I would encourage you to look at our website because we put all these audits out there. And certainly if you have any further comments on other areas that we could look at in terms of those audits, we'd be very interested in that. When we do an audit, again, it's similar to any audit that we do. We can't compel the Department of Health to implement the changes we recommend, but we have had many situations where when we identify money that was misspent, they can collect it back, and we then will do a follow-up audit to see whether or not they have. But we also have in New York State, I think as you know, I'm sure you know, a Medicaid Inspector General's office. So when there are cases of fraud, and there have been a couple just this year alone on medical transportation for people getting Medicaid, where there have been companies set up that rip off the system. You've also had the Attorney General and local DAs involved. So there's been a lot of effort, but still it's an expensive program, and too often, I think to your point, the quality of the service often is lacking, and we're spending too much money in places where the money shouldn't be spent. So, but I would encourage you to look at the audits. If you have some other suggestions on other audits we could look at, we'd certainly be all ears and be happy to hear it based on your experience.
Other questions? There you go, Charlene. She'll bring the microphone to you.
Hi, Charlene Lajewski from Central New York. When we are looking at the COLA and wanting to go back to write bills, is it better to go after a larger percentage or to raise the cap of the 18,000?
Well,
it's an interesting
question. I mean, and I don't want to. I don't want to be in a position of giving
advice,
lobbying advice.
Yeah.
But Roanne DeCito would be very good at telling you what she thinks would be more like. Look,
just in this room.
Just in this room. Yeah. So here's what I would say. Whatever strategy, and you raise an interesting point. Have Diana and the team be in touch with our folks, because I think the big issue is the cost.
Yeah.
Right? So, and again, far be it from me to try to, tell you what to do, because just I say to the union folks, you're there to fight for what's good for your members. I understand that. But the more reasonable the cost impact, the more likely it is that it could be achieved. So I would say whether it's one of those two options or maybe there's a third strategy, we will give you guidance in terms of what we would project the cost impact to be. And we can help, besides the formal fiscal note, we can help with, given informal, financial impact data. And then it's up to you to make a judgment. But look, I think the challenge you have, again, with all due respect to our friends who are active employees, the unions have a lot of clout. So the extent to which you can get some of the unions to be supportive of retirees, as opposed to it being either or, which is what I think kind of happened this year, I think that might be right, Roanne. I mean,
yes.
And I'm not saying that's an easy task, but so I would say as you approach it again, have them as reasonable as possible. It still achieves what you're looking for in terms of cost impact, and see if you can engage. And I know some of the unions operate differently in terms of how the retirees are affiliated with the active unions, but the extent to which you could get some buy-in from some of the bigger active unions, I think that would make a difference.
So the original bill, way back like 3 versions ago, did in fact have raise the threshold higher. We've now brought it down from 18 to 21,000 as your minimum threshold. Yeah. And then we also put a couple of components in it for additional pension income that once we got from your fiscal people a readback of what it was going to cost, we scaled that back. And I also had another conversation. I can't remember his name, the young man who's in your office who deals with this.
Aaron Young?
Yes, it was Aaron
Young.
who's very good, and I had an informal conversation with him, and he said, look, if you do this, if you do this, if you do that, it's going to reduce the cost. It'll make it a more reasonable bill. So that's what we're going to be working on in terms of the coming legislative session. And as you heard Kevin say before, Neil Breslin, Senator Breslin, who was a big champion, is going to be retiring. So we're going to have to essentially make some new friends in the legislature so we can, talk to them about the bill. But we have been making changes all along because of that. So we're going to take another look at it. We'll talk some more with your folks and, get a reasonable bill that we can do.
And then step up your contact. I mean, look, it's so important to have a relationship with legislators. Obviously, I'm sure you do some lobbying, when they're all in town. But what's also important is the relationship you build with legislators back home, right? So RPEA, you have chapters all across the state. So my other recommendation is, step up your local chapter outreach to senators and assembly members in the home district. Make sure they know, besides the voice that Diana and the team give to in the state capitol, that they know that RPEA members are strong in their respective districts and constituencies, and that's how you develop that the consistency and the constancy of the relationship and the message. Look, no one's going to tell you flat out no. The question is, how do you get them to an affirmative action? That's the gap.
Right.
No one's going to say no to retirees that are suffering with high cost of living. I mean, everybody gets that. The question is, how do you get them to the point that there's a proposal that they feel they could go to leadership on and say, hey, it's time we do something on this. And that's where, again, it gets back to cost impact being as reasonable as possible makes it more likely. And that's what the unions, when they were fighting for Tier 6, by the way, they're going to be coming back for more Tier 6 changes too. Keep that in mind. But part of what happened is the unions, instead of coming at it from 5 different ways, they drilled down, they came up with a united position, and they made it a more limited ask. And that's what made it palatable for it to be adopted. So that I would just recommend whatever that looks like in terms of COLA, that is the kind of strategy, you need to follow as well.
And I always say, no matter what the age of the legislator you're talking to, remind them that someday they will also get a state pension, and they will want to have the maximum amount that they can get as well, so they can do it now.
God forbid they should do something in self-interest.
Other questions? Anything else?
Clearly, Diana's an experienced lobbyist.
Oh, we got one back there.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
My name is Jennifer LeBlanc. Are actually Cornell's now, recently married. So I retired from tax and finance in April after 33 years. And I had an appointment in March at State Street to go over my choices and see about my final average salary. And at that point, I was told, which I had heard rumors about the recalculation process being significantly delayed. I was told not to expect my final average salary recalculated for 5.5 to 6 years. And I thought that was very significant. And I mean, it's quite a bit of money for me. I did a calculation myself, being an accountant. And I'm concerned, and I would like to know what changes you're making. You mentioned it. You're obviously aware it's a problem. And that I was told at the time, too, I think they were working on 2019 recalculations.
I think they're done now. Yeah, no, it's a problem. I would say two things. First of all, if you give your name and contact number to one of those gentlemen against the wall, we'll follow up, number one. Number two, what most folks don't realize, because we did an analysis, in the overwhelming majority of cases, the pension benefit you get is at about 95% of what you're going to get anyway. It is a rare circumstance that it's going to be recalculated at a significantly different amount. I'm not saying that there aren't some circumstances where that is the case, and it's often the challenge. So one of the issues we have is we we only can do the calculations based on the information we have. And one of the challenges is that, less so probably with a state agency like the one you work for, but we often have a difficult time getting the information from the employers. And so if we don't have the information, we can't close the case. And that's been one of the contributors to the fact that there's been such a delay. Well, again, probably not relating to your situation, but you also have, particularly with police and fire, you have folks in special plans. You have folks, I don't know whether you were overtime eligible, but overtime, again, not being reported to us fully and on time. And so when even if it doesn't affect you directly in terms of your own personal situation, when the entire system gets backlogged because of all these other, that's how you get caught, in that queue. But if it's a pretty straight retirement, you're getting virtually what you're going to get anyway. Probably not going to be much of a change, but we are adding more staff. We made it a priority, but there's no getting around it. It is not a level of customer service that we are satisfied with by any means. But we'll do a follow-up for you since you raised it, and we'll check it out.
Anyone else? Last chance. Okay, you're off the hook.
Thank you all. Stay well. Happy fall.